across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. I just want to say to you that tonight is a really, really important night for politics. There are 3 by-elections. We're going to focus, obviously, on one of those by-elections, the by-election in Makerfield. I've been there all week. What I have also been is at Royal Ascot today. Now, under normal circumstances, I would have taken the day off simply because, you know, it's a long day going all the way out. But this by-election in Makerfield is so important that I just wanted to come in. So please bear with me. I'm a little bit delicate, but I do think that it was important to come in nonetheless. And let's just tell you what I think, having been round Makerfield. Look, I don't think it's a slam dunk for reform in terms of their narrative. So what I mean by that is this. Andy, oh, by the way, polls closed 4 minutes ago, so we're allowed to talk about it. OK, so the first and most important thing is, obviously, Reform were polling ahead in Makerfield, and Andy Burnham challenged in order to go back to the House of Commons and to become the Prime Minister. If I'm being totally honest with you, I'm less interested in the machinations within the Labour Party than I am about the way people are going. Look, I think many of us are sympathetic to reform, certainly sympathetic to the idea the Labour Party has let working class people down. What I will say is I feel that reform didn't quite make the case. And what I will say about that is this. I think that the idea that reform have, which is we have to prove that we're a competent government, I'm not sure they did. I think the poor performance by Robert Kenyon at Question Time, not his fault. The fault of party strategists, I think, was a problem. Not so bothered, if I'm being honest, about Restore. Parties will run and parties won't run. But that central idea, Andy Burnham is a star and, you know, he can fix the Labour Party. I think he just about did enough. I'm expecting him to win tonight, but I just want to be clear on one thing. As Asher Gould and I sit here tonight, we do not have any exit polls. We do not have any reason whatsoever to know who won the election in Makerfield. It's purely my impression from speaking to people, and I didn't speak to everybody. So, Asher, look, I propose to go straight to our first guest, who is Sebastian Salek. He is a Labour councillor and a commentator. And look, Sebastian, as you know, my background is in being a Conservative and I'm considered a right-winger. But in this interview, I'm much more interested in your impression of what happened in Makerfield rather than us arguing about the politics of one person versus the politics of the other. And you can predict who you think is going to win, but what do you make of the campaign as it closes?
Well, it's been such a weird by-election, has it? Because we've all known what this is all about. It's not a normal by-election. If Andy Burnham wins, as he said as much, he's going to challenge Keir Starmer for the premiership. So it's incredibly consequential. And I think he has that star quality about him because the voters in Makerfield know it's not just about choosing their MP. It's about choosing their Prime Minister, potentially, as well. So a lot of weight on their shoulders. And I think people just like to have politicians as their representatives.
Why does he have that star quality? He doesn't do anything. All he's done is, I mean, what's happened in Manchester? Look at the state of it. Why is everyone going on about what the star quality? It's a bit like Keir Starmer. Oh, he's the man. And then now look what we've ended up with. What's so good about Burnham?
When I say star quality, I mean that if you choose him in Makerfield, you potentially are choosing your Prime Minister as well. And so you're giving another layer of power to the voters there. And that's what makes it such a weird by-election. Now, I do think he's got a good record in Manchester. And I do think he's got a good record as a Labour politician.
Piccadilly Square's full of crackheads fighting. I mean, how can you say he's doing a good job? You know, you can compare it to London, and we haven't got really that in London. All right, it's crazy all over London, but it's quite centralised. Manchester's, I mean, there's sort of crackheads and smackheads everywhere in the city centre.
I think in most
and look at the grooming gangs
you're going to find people with drug problems. So I don't think you can really lay that at Burnham's door. But
sorry, Sebastian, can I slightly broaden that out? Because clearly Asher went to Manchester Metropolitan University and is very exercised by this, and rightly so. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think what he said earlier is a reasonable point. I think you can demonstrate that Andy Burnham is well known. I think you can demonstrate he's more popular than Keir Starmer. I think you can demonstrate that he was pretty popular as the MP for Lee. Star quality? Question mark?
All of these things are subjective, aren't they? You know, none of these people are Hollywood actors. They're all British politicians. So by that metric, nobody has a star quality. But I think what people are doing, and look, I think this is a big mistake. I'm of the view that we should be sticking with Keir Starmer and letting someone see out a term, because that's what the Tories failed to do, much to their demise. And I don't say, I am a fan of Starmer and his politics, but I think if anybody were in power now, I'd be saying the same thing.
Sebastian, isn't there an argument for saying, look, so the Labour Party have said, and I think there's a reasonable argument for saying this, look, the reason the Conservatives were booted out of office is they couldn't decide on the leader and kept, figuratively, not literally stabbing each other. Or you could say the real problem with the last Conservative government was they were crap. And the fact they had lots of different leaders is a function of the fact that they were awful. And actually, in reality, maintaining Keir Starmer as Prime Minister, even though he's awful, does not in of itself make the government more stable. I mean, I look at Keir Starmer and I think to myself, I mean, I've got no idea why he did what he did, but he had a huge opportunity with that enormous majority. He really did nothing with it. I think he's lost the audience. I'll tell you something. I spoke at the Oxford Union once. They booed me. I lost the audience in the first minute, and you can't make a comeback. And I feel like Keir Starmer's the political equivalent of that.
Well, to address the point about the Tories first, I think you have to think about those 14 years as lots of different parties, because you compare Cameron's administration with Johnson's administration, very different situations. And what the Tories were so good at was morphing into what the country needed them to be, and it's how they held on for so long. So to think of them as one long administration is probably not the way to look at it.
But by the way, when you're slagging off the Tories, you're thinking more about the end bit with all the prime ministers and the coalition of chaos.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, I think everybody just got so fed up with it by the end, but that's natural after 14 years of government. But with Starmer, look at what he inherited, look what he came into. And can you tell me honestly that it takes 2 years to fix that? It takes at least five, probably 10.
He just carried on with it and made it worse, though. He didn't try and turn it around.
It's not so much that. I honestly think when you look at Keir Starmer, I think that actually he's the wrong man at the wrong time, and I think the following reasons. So first of all, he's not an idiot. Secondly, he's not a bad guy. I think we can all agree on that. The big majority question mark. I think the reality is, after all of the managers, middle tier managers not being very good, a visionless technocrat, I think just bored everybody senseless.
That is why Burnham's got in. He's the last of the old school. Everyone left when Corbyn got in. They said there's no future, and he's the one that stood out. That's why he's seen as a star, because he's just the only one left that actually had a little bit about him compared to what's there at the moment. And also, if he does get as Prime Minister...
That's the really pertinent point. No politician has a magic wand, and what I want to see from Burnham, if he does win tomorrow, and if he does challenge Starmer, and if he does win and become Prime Minister, is... What are you going to do? What is the big plan? Because we're so focused on politicians and personalities. Look at me, I'm talking about star qualities here, but what we should really be talking about is what is your plan? How are you going to turn this around? I fear we haven't given Starmer a long enough run yet to turn this project around.
Sebastian, why are politicians so visionless? I mean, I'm not criticising any particular side, but you get this idea that they sort of wander in just try, just because they quite fancied the job.
Like Starmer did.
Nobody kind of goes in, it seems to me, going, I've got a burning vision. I mean, whatever you think about Jeremy Corbyn, I mean, he has a burning vision. Whether you look at, you look at somebody like, I don't know, there's loads of politicians, Donald Trump, even Barack, I mean,
you
Barack
know what they
Obama,
stand for, yeah.
You get the impression these people want to be there for a reason. And with Keir Starmer, you get the impression he just needed a job.
I mean, it's a fantastic question. I don't quite agree with that about Starmer. I think we can probably agree that he didn't communicate his vision well enough and really create a narrative out of it, though I do see it as someone who studies what he does quite carefully. But look, I think it's a really hard time to govern. Look, you're coming out of, what are we, 18 years since the financial crisis. We never really got over it. We never recovered during that time of Tory rule. And you're coming in, you're picking up that mantle. Everything's been cut to the bone, but you've still got to find more money. And then you've got to slap a vision on top of it. It's impossible. I don't envy.
Well, with the backbenchers, he couldn't raise any. He couldn't cut benefits even by $5 billion, which is peanuts anyway. So, I mean, Burnham's going to have the same problems.
He is, and look, I think with benefits, you have to look at it as a really sacred issue for the Labour Party. Nobody becomes a Labour politician to cut benefits, and we can.
But they're meant to be the working class party. They forgot about them quickly enough. Why can't they just forget about the benefits people as well? They just change their tune as they move along, don't they?
I don't think it's fair that they've forgotten about the working class. But look, everybody within the Labour Party, I think, believes in having a certain floor below which no one should fall. There's that certain level of dignity that everybody deserves. And we can probably agree that the benefit system needs reform. It's not really serving anybody at the moment. So it's got to be changed. But coming in with a scythe...
But Sebastian, one of the things that worries me about... Look, I think a lot of people in Britain actually, in reality, are fairly similarly politically minded. So, you know, you can say all day that the right want to get rid of the NHS, but in reality, they still want to have healthcare free at the point of use. One of the things that I think is incredibly difficult about welfare is this, that we have got to a stage now where attempting to create a safety net has actually created an alternative lifestyle. Now, I've said on this show on many, many, many occasions that welfareism has killed a large number of people in Northern England because, you know, if you start on benefits age 18, you know, by the time you're 35, you're eating pizzas all day and drinking special brew, and it's destroyed your life. But we've never been able to answer this question. How do you create a safety net without creating an alternative lifestyle? And I think that, you know, we could cut benefits all day and there will still be people who will not say to themselves, this is a last resort. And I don't see how you get around that.
Yeah, I take your point. I think deep down, everybody wants to contribute. Everybody wants to work. Everybody wants to feel relevant, feel valued. But look at what happened in those northern towns. They were gutted of anything that they valued, and nothing was replaced. I'm not going to decry the closure of the mines. But
no. There's no doubt you're right. That whether you agree with Margaret Thatcher, she had to close the mines because she couldn't afford it, or you disagree with that, at the end of the day, these communities were decimated. But now I look at it, and you can say I'm a sinister right-wing extremist or whatever, and now I think that welfareism is one of the things that's killing more of our people than anything else.
Yeah, it's doubled. The disabled bill's doubled, and they're giving it to people who wet the bed and have a bit of anxiety. The threshold's gone to nothing.
Well, you also have to ask, why are so many people feeling mentally unwell? Look, I've been through...
Well, I think it's because everything's against them.
Well, also, they know what they've got to say to get the benefits. You don't even have to see a doctor now. You go online, you go, how do I answer the question? Bingo, you don't have to work again.
Well, I think we'll probably agree that in any system there's always an element of abuse, but I don't think it's the overriding theme that some corners of the media make it out to be.
There's brand new cars. You see people driving brand new BMWs
but do you not,
and Mercedes.
Do you not accept?
Because they wet the bed.
Do you not accept? I have a different view to Asher, by the way. I believe that people who end up on benefits actually principally are forced in by the system, and actually it's not really their fault.
You can't really blame them like you can't blame the immigration.
What worries me more than anything else is, first of all, we have 6 million people who would be richer going on benefits than they are going into work. Now, just to be clear, in a sense that doesn't matter, does it? Because if you get a job, even if your job pays less than benefits, if you keep that job for the rest of your life, or you'll work through and you'll get promoted and you'll have skills and whatever. So it is definitely never true to say you're better off on benefits, even if financially you are. But we have failed to win that argument.
Yeah, and look, I think you've got to look at the reality of those people who are financially better off on benefits. They are severely disabled. They're probably single parents. They're looking after children who are unwell.
Not all of them.
Stack that number of benefits.
They're not all of them. Some of them have got 5 kids and they're playing the system, and they're in the top 10% of the wealthy in this country, because above 65 grand, that's where you'd be. You'd have to have a job for about 80, 90 grand to earn that, and that's what some people on benefits are. And then you get everything reduced, you know, trips, slips and everything. You only have to pay £1. We pay 30, 40 quid. They're actually the wealthy. A lot of the people on the.
No,
they're in the top 10%. That's just a fact.
Well,
it's a fact. They're in the top 10%. If you're on 65 grand with housing, and if you've got 5 kids, you'll be on that.
But who could envy anyone in that position? You have to be, to get PIP, you have to be disabled. I don't envy anybody who's disabled. I feel lucky.
You don't have to be disabled. You just got to have 5 kids.
But let's really boil it down to one of the central things, and I think it has been a central theme in Makerfield. What happens if you turn round and say, I'm very, very sorry that it seems harsh, but ultimately you need to pull these people out of the bed and boot them into a job and not do what we're doing, which is pay them benefits and get migrants to replace them. I've met many people who are thoughtful, intelligent, left-wing, trade unionist, Christians, those sorts of people who say that, unfortunately, welfarism hasn't worked, and it really is time to say to these people, we are killing you by not giving you a job. And actually, this well-meaning welfarism has caused all the problems.
I think when that idea comes into contact with reality, it dissipates, because what does boot somebody into a job mean? Now, look, I think there are problems in the system where previously, if you tried to have a job and it didn't work out, you would lose your benefits. So you were heavily disincentivized to even try. And Labour has fixed that. They've now changed it so that if it doesn't work out, you don't. But
what worries me? What worries me? And by the way, I think this is an answer for a question for every party. So I'm not having a go at you,
sure.
And I hope you wouldn't think I was.
No.
But it strikes me. So, walking around Makerfield, there are people who will say the following. So, first of all, they object very strongly to the allegation they're racist and feel very upset about this allegation. They are strongly against uncontrolled immigration because they feel that has driven down wages. And they feel that what has happened is their jobs have been taken because they've been undercut by foreign workers. And what they've received in exchange is welfare that really sticks them on the trash heap of society. And to me, I think that was a major issue in Makerfield, because always remember something. What we are talking about in Makerfield, potentially, is a Thatcherite, Nigel Farage, winning one of the safest Labour seats in the country. And that doesn't happen because people are happy. It happens because people have a real concern. I think that concern about uncontrolled immigration is it. And Labour's answer, which is to say, you're just all racist, shut up, I think is juvenile.
I don't know anybody who's going around saying you're all just racist, and I want to have some pretty harsh words with anyone who was. That's a word we've got to use incredibly carefully. Now, look, I totally get it. Look, we are all worse off than we were 16, 18 years ago. That is just the reality, and I think that's the fact that underpins this whole discussion. And so the challenge for anybody is, how do you fix that? How do you get real wages outpacing inflation, as they have been for...
Well, I'll tell you one way you can do it, Sebastian.
Yeah.
In reality, there is one way that wages will outpace inflation, and that is starve demand by stopping people coming over as immigrants. I mean, that's just a fact.
Well, no, because
you might not want to do it. You might not want to do it, but it is a fact that the smaller the demand, the smaller the supply of workers, the higher the wages will have to be.
You've got to think about how the immigration system works.
No, it doesn't work.
The reason a lot of people come over is because they have a job that somebody is filling. So a business owner here said, I can't hire locally, I need to find someone.
Well,
correct. But Sebastian, that's my very point. When people say these people are coming over to do the jobs we don't want to do, why do we not want to do them? Because the money's shit.
Well, I think part of it's a skills issue, and we'd probably agree on this, that we have to be upskilling local people in Britain to be able to do these jobs in construction and in trades elsewhere. We just owe it to people who live here to give them those opportunities. And I think the government is right when they say that we should punish companies who don't do that, who hire cheap workers from abroad. But also that there is something to be said for embracing a multicultural society. Everybody has something to contribute. Sorry?
Look, I didn't come from a multicultural background. I think
it doesn't work. I mean, Suella Bravo, it doesn't work. Multiculturalism, multiracialism works. Multiculturalism, where you have a different culture. You can't bring another culture. You've got to be British. You can be a different race, but you've got to be British.
But what is British? We've never had a single British culture.
Okay. Sebastian, allow me to ask this in a kind of right-wing and left-wing helpful way.
Yeah.
What I have seen in, northern England, where I come from, is a group of people from the south of England saying multiculturalism is great. Now, people from the north of England go, yeah, I quite like a curry, and my mate next door's all right. But I don't fundamentally believe that my wages should be held down because there is something marvellous about having... I don't have a problem with that man next door, he's OK. But I don't fundamentally believe we should abolish British culture in favour of a hybrid of world culture.
Which has happened. I mean, Birmingham is not the same system.
And reduce my wages as a result. I don't really see why it's that great.
So you're making 2 points there. The first is about culture, and I don't think British culture is being erased. I mean, most things...
Have you been to Birmingham? It's a totally different town. It's a city.
Sure, but anything that we think of as British, I can guarantee you, most things are about 100 years old. British culture is constantly morphing, constantly changing, based on different tastes here.
Yeah, but why do we...
Never used to be like that.
But Sebastian...
It did always used to be like that.
Sebastian, the central question that nobody seems to have answered is... multiculturalism is vital, right? Or it's a huge benefit. I look at it and I think, I can see the disadvantages. I don't want to deport my mates, but at the same time, I don't get this whole multiculturalism is marvellous and we must strive for it. I grew up in a community where the chip shop owner was Chinese and the doctor was Indian and there was a guy who was adopted who was black. And that was the sum total. And I don't think the world was terrible.
You wouldn't go to Tokyo and go, oh, there's far too many Japanese people. Where's all the black people and the white people? Why does it only occur where there's...
And we're not going to be critical now. We've made our point. What is it you love about that?
So look, let me put my cards on the table.
Like you love about it.
Yeah, so I'll explain to you where I'm coming from. So I grew up, Iranian dad, Danish mum in Hampshire, which is as white as you imagine it is. It was 97, 98% white. I was the ethnic minority and not particularly diverse.
Yeah, I get that.
Then I moved to London. I'm in East London now, and everybody around me is from everywhere around the world. And it's not just the food, it's not just the language, it's not just the cultural festivals, it's the perspectives. It's just I like the breadth of
but let's
not a monoculture.
But hang on a second. Let's take it one step back. If I was in Hampshire, I go to myself, I quite like this village, and we quite like the Salek family. They were okay. But now you're turning around and saying, because I was in Hampshire, I was given, effectively, my family were able to come over from Iran. They were all white. You've not slagged them off, and that's an important point to make.
Yeah.
But now I'm here in Hampshire, I think it's really important we get lots of other people from around the world to make me happy. And you think to yourself, well, imagine the people of Hampshire and the Salek family had never turned up. How much worse would their life be?
Well, no, I obviously haven't done that. I've left Hampshire and I've moved to a place that already is diverse because it suits my tastes and it suits my culture and it's what I enjoy. I'm not trying to create mass migration in Hampshire.
No, but you did say that multicultural. Look, I'm not having a go at you. I think you've been a fantastic guest, and we want you to come on again. It's just this assumption that multiculturalism in of itself is fantastic that I think has failed to connect with Labour voters.
Maybe it has. It's for people like me to make the case for it. But look, I live it every day. I meet wonderful people that I would never have met if we were an all-British country. I've got to stress.
But I met wonderful people when I was in Marrakesh. I didn't invite them to move into my house.
And also, London is different. It's such a mixture. You go to some towns and it's a monoculture and not a British culture.
Yeah, look, and look, I have to accept that I'm speaking about this from a London mindset.
Sure.
I haven't lived in anywhere that might be considered a monoculture necessarily. It's really, really mixed around here. But I personally love it. I get so much out of it. It's a real additive to my quality of life. And I'd love for other people to enjoy it as well.
OK, well, look, thanks for joining us. Coming again, that's Sebastian Salek, the Labour councillor and commentator. We've got to take a break.
We liked him. He was
great, wasn't he? We have to get him in. Next, we're going to speak to Stephen Wright. He's the director of Britain Unbound, Lib Dems to urge Labour to drop torpor and timidity on EU and rejoin the single market. We'll be back with him after this.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. Do you know something? I said I wanted to come in because of the Makerfield by-election, and also I've been to Royal Ascot today. You know, it's a bit of a struggle starting at 8 a.m. and then going all the way through. But then you turned up and the air conditioning in here was broken. My goodness me. Anyway, look, Asher and I don't have the results of the Makerfield by-election, but what we're going to do is talk about some of the issues that have come up. I honestly think Sebastian Salek has laid things out. Look, you know, he's not an unreasonable guy. He's not a nasty piece of work. He's talking about the way that he believes multiculturalism is vital in this country, and we question it. 0344 499 1000. Another guy who's a first-time contributor to us, though assume not in other places, is Stephen Wright, who's the director of Britain Unbound. Now, listen, I came across you because you've been doing a lot of analysis of polling. So why don't you tell us a little bit, first of all, about what Britain Unbound is, and then we can have a chat.
So Britain Unbound basically came together, and we've only launched in the last 4 or 5 weeks, because it seems as though 2016, the country made a decision. It wanted to leave the EU. It wanted to refocus on national sovereignty, of freedom, of control of laws and borders. And you know, at that point, it seems like those who believed in that stopped campaigning. We've won. We're just we're gonna stop having the argument. We're going to go back to and tend our fields. And unfortunately, that was the point where those who wished to remain, or now rejoin, started their campaigning. And they are now very well funded.
Stephen, a lot of our viewers and listeners, whilst they were deeply upset by what happened with what I call the establishment vote, they called it the people's vote. People were upset about the idea that you know, they'd made this choice and now they were not going to be respected. A lot of them do think it's a conspiracy theory that there is an attempt to rejoin the EU, perhaps less so this week. Well, you know, why are they wrong?
I don't think it's a conspiracy theory as much as it is the long-term wish of a number of our elite, let's call them, you know, the lanyard class, most of our politicians. It is the desired end state, and so take them out of their natural habitat, and that is where they want to go.
Stephen, what do they love about it? So, you know, Sebastian Salek, you know, the whole... look, we picked him up on it, you know, when he said, well, multiculturalism is vital. And he'd never really been asked why it was vital. I looked at the EU, so I used to work at the European Parliament in Brussels. It was OK, right? I could see advantages to the EU. I could see more disadvantages, and I believe in just British independence for the hell of it. But I don't get why they think it's so amazing. I mean...
Because they could get away with... They don't have to do anything. They can blame Europe. That's why. They don't have to... They're not held accountable once we're back in the EU.
Yeah. It's difficult because... There's a natural tendency, I think definitely more so with the Brits than perhaps other nations, for us to crave for freedom to choose, the democracy, and there is an inherent conflict there with EU membership of, you know, we're pooling our sovereignty. We don't want to have that ability to choose anymore.
It's not democratic, is it? It's not democratic.
And the more countries that join, that gets watered down further and further to a point where you don't have that democratic control. And we've only seen in recent months the EU wanting to remove that ability to have a veto, that they're looking now to always have a majority vote. And so... And
there's no vote for the actual people that make the decisions. You're MEP, and no one really knew who their MEPs were, and that's how they wanted it. They wanted us to not understand the system, and you can't have a democracy like that. And 2016, the Brexit vote, that was basically the end of our... We have this sort of special relationship and honour, you know, where democracy is respected. And they, in our faces, said, no, we're not doing what you wanted to do, including the Speaker, and it's absolutely outrageous what happened when you think about it. That was the end of our democracy, basically.
The people who have been arguing since 2016 of we should have a second referendum misunderstood a vital part of the actions that they took. They removed losers' consent. They told Leave voters that we all took part in this fairly, we said we'd honour the result. we're not going to honour the result, but can we do it again? And can you honour the result next time, even though we couldn't honour it ourselves?
And it was remarkable, actually. I was speaking to Will Dry, who was one of the big campaigners, along with... Who was that bloke who was about 40? You know, that black guy who pretended to be a student? What was his name? Femi.
Oh, yeah, Femi.
He was about
tight
50.
T-shirt.
He was about 50. Yeah. Right. But Will Dry said that he genuinely wanted to rejoin the European Union. He was genuinely upset with the result. And he said there was a failure to recognise just how radioactive it was to go against the result, because I always think, and Stephen, you can disagree with me, actually, the referendum wasn't a nasty campaign. It didn't divide people. It wasn't, you know, people were not getting the pitchforks out. It was afterwards when we were told that the result would not be honoured. That's when it got nasty.
Yeah, there were a few nasty points towards the end. Obviously, the murder of Joe Cox is just a horrific item in our history of politics over the last decade. But for the most part, the campaign was actually quite friendly.
Certainly down the pub it was.
Yeah, yeah. And for most of the people taking part in that, there were people up and down the country who hadn't really engaged with politics before. I know that, you know, 10 years ago, I wasn't as engaged in politics as I am now.
But I'll tell you what happened with me, and I don't know with Asher, and I don't know about you, but actually, the vast majority of people that I spoke to could see arguments in favour and arguments against. And actually, this idea that there were some people who thought the EU was marvellous and some who literally wanted to burn it down was not the experience for most people. I think what happened was the hatred came afterwards, when it was all about just coming back in. But you know, for me, I'll tell you one thing. When I look at the EU, I think, first of all, I've always said the reason she was called Mrs. Bouquet, not Mrs. Bucket, is because there's always been a thing about French people being posher and more intelligent or whatever than English people. And, you know, it's the menu's written in French. What does that mean? Garlic sauce, right? Or whatever. And there's always been that. But I think there was something else which I still see now in Britain. This idea that get an expert in and create a process so that you can all compromise, and whatever the result of that will be, it will be quote-unquote democratic. Well, first of all, it won't be. But the EU was obsessed at the European Parliament with compromise. It was, let's get everyone together and work out a deal. And sometimes you think to yourself, yeah, but the deal's bad. But we've all agreed. And I watch that now with Keir Starmer, where you get the impression that Keir Starmer believes if we can build a process and we're all good people, we all compromise, good governments will emerge. Yeah. I just don't think that's true.
No. And you look at some of the decisions that the current government have made, and you know, we are a cross-party organisation, so I'm not going to slag off any particular party. I have my own beliefs, of course. But
he's a right-winger.
Well...
Oh, come on. If you all say that.
Yeah. Well, if you look at, like, the deal to give away the Chagos, if you are looking for a compromise position with...
stupidity.
Yeah. If you're looking for... Someone has said, we think that you should give us something that we never owned because we think we deserve it. If you try and find a compromise position there, there is no compromise that's good for the country.
But it was like Jeremy Corbyn. Well, we don't want to sack the submarine builders of Barrow-in-Furness, so let's have a Trident nuclear submarine, but with no nuclear weapons on board because I'm a pacifist. Yeah. And you think, what are we talking about? Anyway, Asher.
Yeah, we've got to take a little breaky here, but you're staying with us for the hour. Stephen Wright's here, director of Britain Unbound. 03444991000 if you want to have a chat about something to do with that. But it's me and Andre on Talk, and we'll be back with Stephen after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Andre Walker and Asher Gould.
I'll turn my fan off, the aircon's broken.
This is Andre Walker and Asher Gould, and this is The Late Show, and Stephen Wright is with us. And Stephen, over the break, we were talking about the following thing. I've always had this theory that the European Union actually is not European Union unity. It's a Benelux solution. So if you look at the Anglo-Saxon countries of Northern Europe, Iceland, Norway, the United Kingdom, Sweden, Denmark, all of these countries actually would much rather a European cooperation system be very different. If Norway invented an EU, it would basically be prime ministers or heads of government heading to Oslo once a month to decide on things that are of interest to everybody, and there would be no big government, there'd be no fat cats, there'd be no quangos, because the Norwegians are not interested. And I just feel like when people say that the EU is phenomenal, they forget Europe is phenomenal, the EU is big government.
It's been really interesting to watch the development of the EU since we left. There are a number of countries who relied on the UK as a heavy hitter to prevent the ever closer union argument, to be the sensible person in the room. So they were genuinely upset. Can you
do me a favour? Just explain that to everybody, because there are some pro-Europeans who felt that the UK needed to stay in order to protect a view. Just explain how that works.
So there's essentially two camps within the 27 members currently. There are those who do want to go towards an ever closer union and actually like the idea of a United States of Europe and are happy to stop being countries, essentially. And there are the other countries, mostly the northern countries, they say the Nordic countries are very heavily within that group, who don't want that. They want to have a trade bloc. They want to cooperate on
Which
trade.
is what we were sold as in the 70s.
Exactly what we
It was a
joined
lie,
for,
though, wasn't it, really?
and maintain that position and not go any further. So there's been a lot of discussion over recent years of there being a multi-speed Europe. Let's have concentric circles, and the people who really want to be heavily involved, they can be in the inner circle.
But that begs the question then. What does Britain say to, as an example, Finland, when Finland goes, look, you know what, this EU was always going to exist, and you bailed on us and left us to not be able to shape it in the way that we wanted?
I think the UK reached a point where the conversation was only going in one direction. And in the same way as if you're in a relationship with someone and they want to have kids and you don't, ultimately that is always going to cause a problem because you want different futures.
Yes.
So perhaps we were aligned on a lot of things, and to be fair, we are aligned on a lot of things. But if you ultimately want a different future, then you're always going to disagree. And
what do those countries do now?
Well, they don't have the necessary votes and the necessary swing that the UK added to their head.
But is Sweden going to become a fan of a federal Europe?
I don't believe so, no. And the polling recently in Sweden has shown a reluctance to go to the euro. When they signed to join the EU, they agreed, yes, we're going to adopt the euro. They since had a referendum and said, actually, the people don't want to, so we're just going to pretend that we didn't make that commitment in a treaty and ignore it. And up until very recently, that polling has slowly been creeping towards let's go for the euro. It's actually started to dip back in the other direction now.
Why is that? How's that happened?
I think
it's not going well, is it, the European economy, is it?
There's the problems that we see in the UK. We have a fundamental problem in the UK in that we seem to ignore what's happening in the rest of Europe and think that it's all us. It's all happening the same. When you look at the performance of the UK economy, it is very similar to the rest of Europe.
But it was doing well before Starmer, wasn't it? It was at the top of the G7.
It was doing better before Starmer.
But that begs a further question, which is this. Look, my family are Greek. My family wanted to be pro-European and pro-Euro because, you know what, they'd eat rats and be European rather than, you know, whatever else there is in with Turkey or whatever. Now, they were forced to eat rats, or almost literally, but that was their view, right? So So there is part. We look at the euro as an economic thing. Many people look at it as a political thing. I suspect the Swedes look at it as economic, so they probably like the economics and dislike the social bit or political bit.
Well, some countries do well out of it, and others don't.
Yeah, and it's fair to say that for some member states of the EU, being a member is a good thing. Those countries that are net recipients of money.
Well, yeah,
they're effectively being given billions of euros a year extra than they otherwise would have. But that wasn't the case for the UK. So at no point have I thought, oh, you know, every country should leave. You know, it's best for everybody if the EU disbands. I just personally felt it was best for the UK.
Well, we don't sell anything. I mean, you know, we bought 20% of German cars. And at the time of Brexit, I remember them saying, oh, we were going to go into a massive recession. I was thinking, we don't make anything or sell anything anymore. All we do is buy from them. They're the one that's going to lose out. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, and that's obvious when you... And now Germany's not doing too well, but we were never selling anything and making any money from it. We were sold this lie, oh, yeah, we make so much money with the trading, but we were just buying off them.
Yeah, we're a services economy, predominantly a services
And there was
economy.
never a free market in services.
Yeah,
Quite hard to do.
Absolutely. There's a really interesting paper, actually, that came out...
It doesn't matter when it came out, just what did it say?
Yeah.
In 1632.
I'm just trying to remember exactly. So there was a review of the essentially how free and how frictionless the EU economy was in the single market. And he was saying essentially that for goods trade between EU member states, the friction that does exist even between those member states still added like a 45 to 50% equivalent of a tariff, just because of the difficulties between them. And for services, it was even higher. It was like 100%. It was effectively.
And
like
just to
100%
explain what we mean by services, what it means is that it is incredibly, it's not impossible, but it's quite difficult for a lawyer who qualifies in London to start practicing in Paris. Now, there's plenty of people who are going to listen to this and go, yeah, well, that sounds quite hard anyway. And that's true. But remember, our export is, you know, those sorts of things. Legal services, financial services, whatever. And if you can't create... I'm not saying you have to create it. What I'm saying is that if you can't create it, then actually you don't benefit the UK that much. And if it's impossible to create it, that adds something further.
Yeah, and the UK is one of the big services superpowers of the world. You know, it's the second biggest services exporter, I believe. I believe it's still the second biggest services exporter anyway.
The biggest money laundering country in the world.
You could also make that argument.
But it's a fact, isn't it?
But it's because of that, because of the fact that we are one of the biggest services exporters in the world, and the fact of our history of our nation, the fact that at some point in the past we have pretty much tried to invade or conquered most of the world as well. Our language is the one that is the dominant business language of the world. And so we don't have the same... You see the argument about the trade gravity, that the further away you get from a particular country, the less you're going to trade with them just because they're further away. That isn't just a metric of distance. It is, they're going to speak a different language, they're going to like different things, the money's going to be different, as well as the time difference and the distance difference. We don't have all those same barriers because of our history, because of being a seafaring
They don't
nation.
like us as well, the EU, because of that, do they?
There's a bit of that as well.
I disagree with that. I believe that the EU loved us to bits and would put up with a lot of our troublemaking as they saw it, because they just, you know, they believed in this project. I saw, you remember that Jason J. Hunter, that idiot who used to come on saying all of our trucks would be banned from Europe and all this. When they made that report about trucks being banned, that was what is the worst case scenario and how can we fix it? They were never going to play nasty with us. The one thing that did worry me about the EU, and does worry me, is you know, we did very much offend them by leaving. Now, that's not a good reason to stay, but it made them sore. And of course also it made them mindful of it encouraging other people.
Yeah. The departure of the UK was an existential threat to the existence of the EU.
And I would hope so.
And we have to take that at face value of, they saw something happening that was, this might end this whole movement.
Well, their own jobs, basically.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to pull you up, Asher, on that. I know most British people feel that way, but having worked in Brussels, they're believers. Someone like Jean-Claude Juncker believed that he was building something to prevent a future European war and genocide. And I know I'm not having a go at Asher because I know people in Britain. I know people in Britain genuinely think that it was all just about. I will tell you the reason the EU was so corrupt, because basically they just thought government's corrupt. We have to pay all these people off, right? You ain't gonna get a Slovak parliamentarian to come on board unless there's a big expense account.
They could never close their accounts, could they? You could never.
But that was their view. The Jean-Claude Juncker view, I would suggest, is this: if you open up free trade, if you cooperate together, doesn't matter how much money gets nicked by the political elite, sooner or later the populace will come together. Jean-Claude Juncker presided over an enormous amount of corruption, but he didn't love it. He just thought it was what would happen. Or I'm wrong. Yeah. Am I wrong?
A means to an end. You could certainly make that argument that their belief is so strong in the movement of the ideals, that the principles that they wanted the EU to exist for, that a blind eye was turned to many things.
Yeah. They're brainwashed, aren't they, basically? They're sort of brainwashed.
They have very strong views, I think, of where they want the future to be. And we
Jean-Claude Juncker, and we're giving him as one example, Guy Verhofstadt or whatever, they believe that the EU will prevent another European war and genocide. I think that's garbage.
How's that working,
Well, I think it's garbage, but they're not doing it because they're bad people.
Yeah. Anyway, look, we've got to take a little break here. We'll be back with Stephen Wright. It's Andre and Ash. Give us a ring, 03444991000.
Nice to the Europeans. What was I doing, Asher?
We'll be back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh my goodness me, I'm in trouble now. I'm in trouble from everyone. I was nice about the EU. The calls are flooding in, the texts.
What's wrong with you, man? The sun's got to you.
Somebody has, well, the sun have got to me because people are, that email the CEO thing, right? Well, get rid of that Walker. He's dreadful. He's a communist.
I will stop doing that.
It's really interesting actually because I just wonder where this is going to go because I'll tell you one thing more than anything else that we can all agree on, Stephen, with the Brexit referendum. Brexit was an opportunity to do things. I just think it's independent, right? You move out your mum and dad's house, and what's the first thing you do? Well, you can do lots of things, but one of them was not knitting, right? Yeah. But you're welcome to continue to. But here's what's happened: we have not benefited from Brexit in any meaningful way because we've not made an effort to as a government. I think there is one benefit though, and I invite your comment on this. I think Brexit has highlighted the weakness of British parliamentarians. And I think that is a good thing.
Yeah. Ultimately, and this is kind of the position that I took on this, is that I believe in power being the closest to the people that it affects. So if there's a decision about your local church roof needing to be changed, that doesn't need London to get involved.
No.
It's just your local councillors. I don't see a need for a government at a continent level.
Yeah,
It doesn't
I agree
make
with
sense.
It doesn't work. You can't. It's too far away.
Yeah, it's either something that needs to be decided on a national level that affects all the people in your country, but not everywhere else, or it's something that affects the globe. There isn't something that affects just one hemisphere or just
But
one
they like it because it gets rid of the
arbitrary line.
accountability, does it? For them, they don't have to worry about it. They go, oh,
It's a
the
government
EU.
for a government.
But that's right. But you are saying conceptually, no matter how good a pan-European government is, just don't want one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it, right?
It's called sovereignty. It's called wanting to be sovereign. I couldn't believe it at the time. People were going, "Oh, it's much better in the EU. We're going to be worse off." You know, and it's like saying, "Oh, well, people in China are happy, you know, being under authoritarian." I mean, maybe they are, but being told what to do. But we don't like that in this country. We like having the choices ourselves.
But what you're saying, Stephen, is this: even if the EU was brilliant, I still wouldn't want an EU.
No. No,
I mean,
I
I'm with you.
I don't see the need in having a government for my government.
I actually also think Sebastian Salek was completely wrong. I actually think the gorgeous and amazing thing about Europe is actually how different it is and the real diversity that exists. You know, you can go literally from, I don't know, Manchester to Llandudno on a train. It'll take you 2 hours, and people will sound different. They'll act a little bit, and then you multiply that by a whole continent. And actually, I think it's great. I mean, you know, you go over to all sorts of places across Europe, and you know, Spain feels foreign. You know, in a way that's nice.
Especially now.
Yeah, having had the pleasure of travelling through virtually every European country. It would be a shame for them to all homogenise and merge.
But that's
into
what
a single
multiculturalism. I mean, we've seen it with a lot of high streets now. Every high street has, you know, a Tesco's or a Starbucks. There are some areas that keep it the same, and that's basically a microcosm of what's happening. And Morrissey said it. He goes, multiculturalism is bad because I want to go to Glasgow and it's like Glasgow. I want to go to Tokyo and it's like Tokyo. Multiculturalism just make everything the same. So obviously, it's a bad thing.
It's really difficult. It's really difficult to look at places that have their own character and have their own traditions, and to think, well, actually, over time, these things are all just going to merge and turn into a blancmange, you know.
I think it is. I think the case remains to be proven. Remains to be proven that that what has happened in the centre of Birmingham has improved Britain. Now, look, I'm sure the people there are very nice. Right, and you can go to all sorts of shops and halal meats and all that sort of thing.
Lovely at Villa Park.
I think it remains to be demonstrated why Birmingham needed to be changed
There's
in that way.
There's a text here, actually, from Deb. It says, hi, you two, that's sensation, I think it means. Sebastian. I agree that multiculturalism is no bad thing, but Ash has said you go to Brum, Handsworth or Smethwick, it's not multicultural. No one speaks English, and you probably won't read this out, or we have. But they have taken over. Horrendous. I now live in France for exactly that reason. And it has ethnically cleansed. You look at the East End, there's no Cockneys. But they would never say, oh, it's been ethnically cleansed of Cockney. But it has. Places have been ethnically cleansed.
I think it's a real shame that we've spent thousands of years becoming the nation that we are and having the character and the traditions that we have. And if someone wants to join and be part of that culture, be part of that heritage and become British, then brilliant.
And that's what used to happen, didn't it?
But it's not something that you can maintain at a very high volume of people.
But also,
I don't know what that number is.
You've got a drip feed.
I don't know what the number is. I'd love for someone to work it out.
But also,
5%, 6%.
But also, I'm increasingly of this view. Look, first of all, ignore the Jews. And I'm going to say this for the following reason. People go, oh, Britain was a multicultural society for years. Oh, there were a few 100,000 Jewish people. That does not prove anything about multiculturalism, in my view. People who've been here for hundreds of years. And whatever.
But you say that a lot of Jews married into this, so there's been millions of people with Jewish blood.
Okay, not the point I was making. But here is the critical. Here's the next point I'd make. Look, people from the Caribbean in the Windrush coming over, English speaking, Christian, do the same exams as us, same school system, same legal system, same monarch. The fact that people can come from the Caribbean and fit in with Britain easily, I don't think proves that somebody can come from Uganda or Pakistan or Afghanistan. I think if somebody is, you know, a Botswanan tribesman, the fact that Ian Wright played for England doesn't actually prove
No
he can
relation.
fit in.
No relation.
But it doesn't
I know
prove he
there's a
can fit in.
resemblance, but...
Anyway, look, we've got about less than a minute, so...
So, I think anyone from any walk of life, from any place around the world, if they want to be British and be part of our culture, then they would be able to fit in and be welcomed.
Really? Do you believe that?
I think
People
so.
used to want to be British. Immigrants wanted to be, now they
British,
don't want to be.
If they actually want to fit in, I think we have seen an increase over the years of people who are opportunists and don't actually want to be part of Britain. And if we can get back to that point of people are welcome to be here if they want to be here, then we will be a happier nation for it.
And in that time when the indigenous chinchilla speakers of Upper Guatemala can fit in Birmingham, then that will be an interesting
There is
day.
the area where they do speak Chinchillian. Thanks, Stephen Wright. That's Stephen Wright, Director of Britain Unbound. We'll be back after the latest news. Stay with us.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, this is a paper review with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. And we are looking, of course, at this Makerfield by-election. Just to be clear to you, this broadcast was either played out or recorded at just after 11 o'clock on the 18th, which is this Thursday. If you're listening on Friday morning, you may well have the Makerfield by-election result. But we are going to, nonetheless, talk about the significance of it. We're expecting an Andy Burnham win, aren't we? Mike?
Oh, well, maybe. It's the counts too early. I'm not sure, actually. I've also been confused because to get Starmer out, you have to vote Reform, but then Labour are saying to get Starmer out, vote Labour Burnham.
Yeah, that is correct.
So,
There's various ways to skin a cat.
So that is correct. So effectively, Labour have been wandering around Makerfield saying, if you hate the Labour Party, make sure you vote Labour. To solve the problem.
And of course, Reform and Restore are together about 45%, and Burnham Labour was predicted at about 45%, so they've split that vote.
Indeed, and I mean, you look at the local elections, and that was a Reform wipeout. But the Burnham name does, I think, carry weight So it's going to be very exciting. I mean, I'm not going to bet just yet. But
what would you bet, though? Labour, would you?
I think Labour only because Reform Restore is going to split it. And I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. I think each person should vote with their conscience.
I think, if I'm being honest, I think the duty voters were too big and they voted Burnham, and I think that Reform failed to make the case. Now, I think that any new political party is a work in progress, but I think Reform failed to make the case. But I want to ask you this question. So we bring you on as a commentator, obviously, to look at the papers, but one of the things that's been massive in the press this week, and it is on the front of the iPaper, is about attacks on oil fields. And look, what is going to happen in the Middle East, in your view? You are a Syrian, you're a Syrian Christian.
Yeah.
One would assume, and I'm just guessing, that you are at least vaguely supportive of what Israel and the United States of America are doing in terms of attempting to free the Middle East. How do you see this playing out? Because I worry that we're going to all flake and Iran is going to continue doing what it's doing.
Well, and they can, because they've been saving up for it for so many years.
Okay.
And I think this has been a bad deal by America. It's £300 billion given to Iran, a crazy number, and the canal was open before the conflict, and the Americans are looking at it and thinking,
start charging now.
Yeah, and you know, they're looking at it, and it was open before, and then Trump closed it, and now it's open again, but we lost $300 billion.
And of course, it's not going to work. You know, Iran have said, oh yeah, don't worry, we're not going to make any weapons with our 60%, you know, nuclear missile enriched. Of course, no, we're not going to do. Of course they are, and then Israel's going to come in, and it's all going to end again. He's just doing this, Trump, for the next elections, isn't it?
I think this has been a very difficult learning curve for Trump, to see how delicate and tricky the Middle East situation is. Just because you bomb a country thoroughly, it doesn't mean that they're out of it.
He thought he could win, didn't he? He thought they would revolt and the people would take over.
But the Iranian, you know, they have really decentralised their mechanisms, and they were able to still send drones and send missiles.
What is the answer? Because, look, first, I think it's important to bear in mind that you are not a Syrian refugee. You're somebody who came over here as a result of your family working in the UK.
Indeed, yes.
But there are a large number of Christians being killed and injured and thrown out of Syria. And what I look at, I see it just being galvanised into two factions. We seem to have absolute nutter extremist governments, jihadis, Israel, you know, winding people up or doing the right thing, depending on your view. But fundamentally, it doesn't make that much difference. You know, can we actually get anywhere with this lot, or are we just wasting our time?
Yeah, and I think the Christians are the ones that are struggling, because both sides are encroaching on them, and that's really tricky for us. And as I was trying to say, Trump has had a very difficult learning curve here, because he realised it's not as straightforward as he thinks. And the solution, to answer your question, is, I'm afraid, time, is education, and it's just good old-fashioned interfaith work to try and get those people together.
We've heard that for a long time.
It's never going to work, with jihadists who just say, well, I'm not, forget all that, I'm going with what...
Indeed, but because we have to stay out of it, because we've been funding things crazy in the Middle East for over the last 20 years.
But can I ask you this question? And if the answer is no, then I accept that.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
But is there any future for moderate Christians in the Middle East?
In Lebanon, yes. Syria, no. The constitution requires the president to be Muslim. And I think that's a mistake. I think, in fact, if it was a Christian, it would be a moderate voice to settle the dispute between the Sunnis and the Shias, because you won't have a stake in it. So Lebanon is probably your best bet.
The Hezbollah are out there, don't they?
Yeah, well, they are...
but what we're talking about is... What you're talking about, and I'm not being disrespectful when I say this, is it possible one enclave of Christianity can survive? That's the question you're answering. Whereas my question was, can Christianity survive?
It's got to. I mean, I think if you believe in the faith, and I do, I think it will survive. But how? It's going to be difficult. And I think we just pray for peace, hope that things are calmed down, and once things have calmed down, then you can reintroduce dialogue, engagement, the ability to practice your faith without being persecuted.
What about the countries in the Middle East that actually would engage? Because we've heard about the Loonies, we've heard about Hamas, we've heard about Hezbollah, but we don't often hear about Jordan. We don't often hear about, well, we hear about the United Arab Emirates, but perhaps for different reasons.
Egypt.
Yeah, there is a growing view that there are countries in the Middle East actually who've had enough of this jihadism. Is that false hope, or is it realistic?
Yeah, people are tired. People want to make money. The Gulf wants stability. And
so they're all moving over here, the extremists. That's what's happening.
Well, it's a
not so much from the Middle East, though.
It's a combination of things. I think not vetting people is not helpful, but you know, extremists sadly are everywhere. And,
yeah, but like they got kicked out, wasn't it Libya, or was it the guy that blew up the Manchester arena? You know, the Emirates have said they're not going to allow their kids to study in Britain because they're getting radicalised. I mean, now Europe is the centre because obviously it's where the Islamists want to get they want to get back to what was in Spain. They want to. It's, you know, there's two Islamic worlds. There's the Islamic world and there's the world where you've got to do the jihad, and that's why they're coming to Europe.
Yeah, and I think the radicalisation point is not just from the Middle East. We have seen people being radicalised within the UK itself. We have been seeing a wave of what they call reverts, for example. I think there has been a lack of attention by the public to see the extent of the work that's being done online. And, you know, it's one thing to try and advocate for your faith peacefully, but there's another thing to advocate for violence and call for things to be blown up, and I think that's not okay at all.
But what about this point that we talked about earlier, which is, what about those of us who say, do you know what, I don't care if you're Muslim or Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, anything like that. I believe that Britain should be a majority Christian country, and the majority of British people, the majority of people in Britain should be British. Why can't I say that?
You can't say that. You just said it.
No, but well, reasonable. But why is that? But why would that be such an unusual view? I suspect it's not something that you find remotely challenging. Well, but if I was to stand up as an example in the House of Commons and say Britain should be majority Christian and it should be majority British, you'd be castigated.
And if you're a white, if someone who was black or brown said that, they'd be all right. So it's actually a racist thing, isn't it? If Kemi Badenoch said that, she wouldn't be called racist.
I think it's because people take the debate far too heated and they don't do it in a measured and collective way. I think it is reasonable to accept that each country should have a majority of its people in it. There are notable exceptions, like the Emirates, for instance, or Jordan, where they have.
I mean, I think it's important to understand that in the United Arab Emirates, almost every citizen of the United Arab Emirates is an Emirati. You are welcome to come and have a job there, which I don't have a problem with. I mean, what's happening in Britain is that, and Asher, look, Asher is a lovely. Look, the way Asher,
thanks, man.
The way Asher Gould comes across on the TV and radio is what he's like. He's a laid back, he's a laid back, decent bloke. But he does walk around Birmingham going, actually, there's no Brummies here anymore. Yeah. And that is a reasonable criticism.
I'm the only Brummie in the village.
And I think it depends what you define citizenship as. And I think in Britain for very long, I think as long as you come to this country, embrace...
Live for 4 years,
but I think there was an understanding of embracing values. You know, you have to believe in parliamentary sovereignty, which I very much believe in, for example. I think it's one of the greatest systems existed. So, you know, that I think is important, but I think we've sadly lost that. I think we've become a bit complacent on asking people to fit in society, and I think that's difficult because you need to fit into your society to do well. So, you know, I wouldn't have been able to make the most out of this country had I just spoken Arabic and refused to mingle in. But, you know, I try and, you know, learn the language.
But I was in Makerfield.
Got a Panama hat.
But I was in Makerfield. Put it on. You look ridiculous. But I was in Makerfield, and you know, you might get an Uber driver, or might go to an Indian restaurant or whatever. And look, I went into an Indian restaurant and I started asking them about the by-election. Just didn't know anything about it. Now, I'm not having a go at these guys, they're not evil people, but it's not their world. So you get into a taxi, with, hey mate, oh, I'll tell you what, Uber's done us over, we're losing a fortune, mate. Right, you get that sort of guy. Oh, Andy Burnham, he's no good, or Sarah Poaching, she's all right, or I can't stand Farage, or you get that. You get in with Ahmed, and you go, what do you think of the by-election? What's a by-election? And look, I don't mean to be rude, but when
I found out with people from this country though, is it?
But when you're talking about integrating, what is very clear is that this guy just literally has never met anybody who talks about British politics.
There are a range of reasons for that. I mean, one of them could be political apathy. I think I've seen that a lot more often nowadays, whether someone is ethnically British or not, ethnically Anglo-Saxon.
Yep.
I think apathy has become a real serious issue. The trust in politics has declined.
Especially
and
since Brexit, that was a nail in the coffin.
And you might see it more prevalent within minorities because they just never engage in the first place. So, but the reality is there are a combination of factors. But when it comes to people coming to Britain, we have always had a very long history with that because Britain was an empire for so long and it, conquered 25% of the world.
But very small amount of immigration.
Yeah, but remember, everyone was called a subject of the king or the emperor. So, and this is what I loved because regardless of where you were from, you're all equal. You're all subjects to the king. So we've always had this attitude that we can all be part of the same commonwealth. And maybe 100 years ago, people would familiarise themselves with that and associate themselves with that. But nowadays,
well, they were proud of it, weren't they?
Indeed, but as decolonisation took place and you had new identities, new countries emerge, I think there has been tensions in trying to mix all that.
Do you not think I'm starting to believe what Danny Kruger said was right? Right, so whatever way we look at it, Danny Kruger has said the British system, the British Constitution, we say Judeo-Christian, it's actually Christian values, right? But he says the whole British Constitution, the whole British legal system relies on it. So as an example, I mean, all these people who complain about lawfare, as an example. Let's not talk specifically about myself, but the kind of, oh well, this is technically legal. I'm going to go shout at this person, or I'll stand outside this Israeli thing and whatever. Like it's technically legal during a genocide in Israel to stand outside the Israeli embassy saying stop the Israeli genocide. Right? It's technically legal to do that, but it's just not what British people would normally do. And Danny Kruger's argument, I think, is this: if people do not fundamentally understand our culture, then our legal system makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Because when people say everything in Britain's cricket, well, no, it's not. Because ultimately, Asher Gould has to watch people in Israel being massacred and then pay the taxes for the Metropolitan Police to approve a protest outside the Israeli embassy where they laugh at the Israelis for dying. Right? Now, I would say that is legal. But it is not within the spirit of why that legality existed.
The spirit of the law, that's what we talk about.
I don't plan to ban that hate speech. I plan to say to you, if you cannot understand why that is unacceptable, actually you shouldn't be living in Britain.
And that's a very, I think, mature attitude to have, because you've highlighted that it is legal, but actually you have the right to disagree with the protest. And I think that's what fundamentally should be about.
I have the right to say a protest is turning up once, not marching down central London every bloody week,
intimidating people,
shouting at Jewish people
or going to a bakery
for 3 years.
Indeed, and I think I sadly have to say this has been brought on partly because we ourselves in Britain have not been taking up our civic virtues as strongly as we should have been.
No. Sorry, I disagree.
You disagree with that? Okay.
I'll tell you why I disagree with this.
Yeah, tell me.
Because I'm not interested in shouting at the bloke next door because he wants to live his life in a certain way. I'm not interested in doing that. Englishman's home is his castle. I will get on with my life. You will do your bloody thing, whatever it is. Right. What is happening now is we are importing cultural views from around the world, like, oh, let's organise. It's not illegal to organise yourself into a black gang in Brixton. It's not illegal to do that, right? But the reason nobody does it is because nobody did it before mass immigration. The idea of forcing women I mean, it's perfectly legal to wear a burqa in this country, but the problem is we're now forcing women to do it because of radical Islam coming to Britain. My argument is the reason these things are not illegal is because we don't like them, and we just think there's just a general obvious rule they shouldn't exist. But the next point is this. I don't want to go down the other option, which is the Keir Starmer option, which is to say, what we now need is the law to arbitrate on all these things. So what we need to do is, we know there's hate speakers from Islam, so we have to ban Christians as well. I say, look, I don't believe in preaching at you in the street, and if some Muslim guy wants to do that, he should do that in Afghanistan.
Yeah, and I think, but my point is, I accept that there has been lots of people coming in, but when they come in, what standard are they looking to integrate? And so if I'm an immigrant that just came to this country and I want to be British, what's the standard? What do I need to do to become British? And we don't have that. And that, as a result, terms like British value, for example, has been hijacked to mean something completely different.
So first of all, you make a very good point. And I think the answer is this. So there is a general view amongst migrants. There is a general view amongst many people that there is no such thing as Western culture. The reason is it's almost like nobody knows that vanilla is a flavour of ice cream. Ice cream doesn't taste of anything without vanilla, but people think that that it's the basis. Right. If you come from Iraq and move in next door to me and go, teach me, I need to learn your culture, you have to tell me, I'm happy to do it. But if you basically say, you've got no culture, I'm not interested, tell me I'm wrong, then I think, I was just having a beer with my mates. I'm not that... But
also, they don't move in next door to you, they move into where all the other people from where they're from live. That's the trouble with it.
And I think I agree. I think that is... part of the issue where actually maybe we should encourage people to have that, what I'm saying, that little book, and you can actually see, what British... And I completely reject the fact that the West doesn't have culture. I mean, you look at music, classical...
Carry-on films, custard pie fights...
Panama hats.
If you then look at the hatred and anti-Semitism of Jewish people, it seems to me, people turn around and go, oh, they've all got good jobs. So first of all, they don't all have good jobs. But if a Jewish person is forced out of their land, which they had been, and has to come to Britain, and then works hard, gets a degree, speaks it, you never know who they are. Well, they're trying their best to integrate. I mean, my argument is this, that when you look at Jewish people, look, I don't know whether it's right that there should be any sort of multiculturalism, but what you were talking about with Jewish people is very simply this. People who are British because they want to be British, they integrate and whatever. And you walk around the street, I go for a beer with somebody and I go, oh, should we have a hog roast? And they go, oh, I'm Jewish. Didn't even know, didn't care, didn't make any difference to me. Good bloke.
Yeah, exactly. And
I don't often offer Jewish people.
A lot of them will have a hog roast as well. Yeah, naughty.
I take my Lent pretty seriously. I go on a vegan Lent, which is the sort of traditional Eastern.
I love the way that a punishment for a Christian is to be a vegan.
Oh yeah, we're a bit late for a break. Let's take a little break. Mike Salem here. Salem's lot. We're going through all the papers. If you're listening in the morning, Jeremy Kyle's on, I think, or is it Mark Dolan? It'll be Mark Dolan. So make sure you stay tuned. 0344 499 1000. It's Andre and Ash with Mike Salem back after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, this is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. And look, I'll tell you what we've got to do, Mike.
Oh, yes.
You're going to hate this. You're going to hate this. Front page of the Times, Royal Ascot.
Oh, goodness
Tell me about horse racing.
Well, I was watching the Christmas Day a few weeks ago when he won. And my honorary big sister, she bet on Christmas Day and it's actually won. But sadly, I don't think we've been as successful this year with the horses.
That's the thing. Once you win one, you think you're infallible.
So we haven't done so well. But I like it. It's a good occasion. We're talking about values and culture. Very much part of it.
I'll tell you what I like about Royal Ascot, and as you listen to this, there's Friday and Saturday left. The one thing I would say, so I'm lucky enough to be a member of the Royal Enclosure. There's no point in pretending that I'm a massive toff. I mean, people can hear from the accent, whatever. I end up as a member. My mum used to go, and I think she was quite, I don't know, she was quite posh, whatever. But what's great about it, you can go for like £15 or £20. Take your own booze. Oh, those bits are a bit fruity. I would advise you to go if you're more younger and a bit, you know,
yes,
a bit.
indeed.
But you know, you can watch the racing all day, and I think it is great fun. And I'll tell you what I really love about it. You know, there's something for everybody. I'm very proud to be a member. Well, I'm not very proud to be a Royal Enclosure member. It costs a bloody fortune. But I enjoy taking people there. But I'm an older guy, right? It's great when you see younger people going. And also, I will say one thing. I'm going to say this, right? The large number of people from the traveller community who go in some of the cheaper enclosures, it has to be said, we spend our lives saying that travellers, gypsies, whatever you want to call them, cause trouble. No, not at all. Actually, they like the horse racing. They get involved. They're lovely people. Wouldn't challenge one to a fight, but you know, I think it's important to remember that we look at people in a negative way sometimes, but actually, you know, people who are integrating are important.
And it's a very uniting activity, isn't it? You see people, as you said, from all walks of life, of all ages. So yeah, let me know next time we're going. Maybe you might invite me. Yes,
tell me about the other thing on the front page of the Times, which is about UK mega projects.
Oh, well, hold on, before you do that, about Ascot, a very serious matter. Someone I used to present a show with, Lizzie Cundy, was turned away from Ascot. It's reported in The Sun. Mortified wag humiliated as she is banned from Ascot and turned away after flirty behaviour and flouting dress code. Don't you know, Lizzie Cundy? A mortified wag was left humiliated after being banned from Ascot, allegedly for a flirty behaviour and flouting the strict dress code. Thousands flocked to the... We should get her on to talk about this. She looks fine. She always looks great.
Let's have a look at her clothing.
Yeah, but what's up? People wear that. What's wrong with all that? I mean, yeah, you can see through it. But, I mean, that's what she wears normally, and she's paid a lot of money. No, she's worked hard in the gym for all that. Many famous faces flocked to the event, including Lizzie Cundy, who was excited. However, Lizzie, who was previously married to JJ Cundy from TalkSport, Lizzie was mortified. She arrived today to have her photos taken with all the other celebrity guests, and it was made very clear she wasn't welcome. She attended Ascot for years, and while Lizzie wasn't given specific reason for being banned, those behind the scenes say her flirty behaviour with some of the male guests in 2025 didn't go down too well. Leave Lizzie alone. Maybe we should try and get her on. Maybe tomorrow we'll get her on.
I mean, how will I sleep tonight? I mean,
I know. Poor Lizzie. She's lovely, Lizzie. How dare they do that?
Oh, well.
We'll try and get her on tonight.
The Ascot ban, I didn't know that. The Cundy Ascot ban.
Unbelievable. Very, very hurt.
Right. I'm just going to ask you this question, Asher.
Yeah.
I want you to think about this. Bear in mind, we're all friends with her. And also, you have to be honest to your audience.
Yeah.
Lizzie Cundy banned for unacceptable clothing and jumping all over men for photos. Is that completely unbelievable?
Well, no, but I mean, isn't that what goes on at Ascot anyway these days with all the new
they hate people exploiting the event for publicity.
She's friends, her mum's very good friends with Queen Camilla. So I hope she has a word with
I've heard that.
Well, at least Celeste.
We've all heard
next year, dress up properly, and
she was my best
dresses. She has amazing wardrobe. I mean, I bet that costs a fortune, and she looks great. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I will tell you what happened with me and Lizzie Cundy, and I do like Lizzie. Right, when I first got a job at Talk, I was a fill-in presenter years ago, and I was filling in for Alexis Conran. Right.
Okay.
So, Lizzie Cundy was going to do, I was told she's going to do a celebrity paper review. Sorry, a celebrity roundup or whatever.
Okay.
She arrived in. She'd just got off a plane from Spain, so she knew nothing about what was going on. So she got the copy of The Sun and just read out every article.
Oh, dear.
Right. And then the following day, I read in The Sun again, Lizzie Cundy stands looking beautiful for her new job at Talk as a presenter of photo. I wasn't even mentioned. My first every year. Do you remember when I used to do that that Christmas party on the boat?
Oh yeah.
Every year she used to. Lizzie's Christmas party. Never mentioned me.
She's a natural, and you know she's a Bond girl. She was. You remember the famous scene where? Which one was it? The one with the legs?
She was in the background
with the legs. No, she was in the bath. You know, there was that one where he's having his legs wrapped around and being squeezed in the bath.
That was pretty.
Timothy Dalton or the one after.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, she was the leg model. It was her legs doing that. She's got the best legs in the business.
Did you recognise it, or did you?
I did, yeah. They're unmistakable hairpins. Yeah. Anyway,
anyway, paper review.
The paper review. Man arrested after a boy thrown into crocodile enclosure in Cambridgeshire. So I don't know what happened there, but it sounds a bit dodgy.
This has been on the news all day, and even my family has been raising this issue. I'm obviously very sorry to hear about the kids.
Well, we don't know what happened.
But then again, now the government maybe will look at a review and to ban crocodiles.
You ban the crocodiles,
yes. But it is a shame. But, you know, again, you know...
When you say ban the crocodiles, I mean, how many...
There's quite a few.
Well, it's a knee-jerk reaction. It might become popular policy.
Crocodiles.
Yes.
I love...
They've not integrated well.
Sorry, I didn't find this funny, but there was this bloke who kept a chimpanzee in his house. And they said it bit his nose off and his fingers off, and it said it jumped all over him, and they said it always goes for three places.
Oh dear.
The nose, the hands,
well, I don't think
and the nose, the hands, and the genitals. But they didn't mention anything. They just mentioned the hand and the face.
Oh.
Well, look, this is very serious. Obviously, he's a 3-year-old.
Indeed.
It's critical but stable. Hopefully, they weren't attacked.
Well, that's good.
It's from the fall, but they're terrible.
I mean, I was making a remark on the fact that, for instance, XL bullies were banned a few years ago because of stuff like that. Where social media now it's being being banned from
I saw this beast on the tube yesterday, like this big grey beast, and then it was sort of sick on the floor of the tube, and the bloke didn't clean it up, and I sort of thought, well, the people that own these dogs, that's what I mean.
But I would imagine you would need a zoological licence to keep a.
Look at that! That was on the tube. That was the flipping dog on the tube. Look at that beast. I mean, that's terrifying.
I think. Oh goodness me! It looks like it's chomping at the bit.
Yeah, you can't really see.
Yeah, I think probably an investigation should be in order to look at how that happened and, hold the people who are responsible to that to account. But I don't think the government should interfere.
No. Cost of living, hope for UK, we've done that. Harvey Weinstein ruined my film career, says Robert Lindsay. The new Ford Escort, yours for £295,000.
What?
They've gone up a lot. I think it's a retro one that they've remade. Only Attenborough is safe from the BBC cuts. He's 100 years old now, isn't he? And Moscow burning. They really know what they're doing, the Ukrainians now. They're bombing right deep into Russia, into Moscow.
It's reassuring to know that David Attenborough will become a fossil fuel in a couple of years.
He's used all the bloody fossil fuels.
He can campaign against himself.
Starmer in the Times. Starmer amasses war chest to fight off leadership challenge. Starmer is a 6-figure war chest to fund his campaign to see off a leadership challenge. The Times has been told that the Prime Minister has secured the support of a group of private donors before a potential contest. Critics, however, suggested he was unlikely to raise enough to mount a serious defence. Is there any amount of money that could save him?
Well, you can't pay MPs off. Maybe you can if you're Lord Ali, I suppose. But, yeah, I think it really depends on what happens in the next few hours. If Burnham does get elected, he's clearly the obvious candidate to mount a leadership challenge. He did confirm, I think, a few hours ago that he would not start his campaign tomorrow or during the weekend. So I think he's waiting till next week.
But how about we explore this issue? What difference does it make? I mean, it's not a different direction of travel with Andy Burnham. He's a nicer bloke. He's a more personable character. He's got a more interesting backstory, slightly. But I mean,
I think there will be. I think he's going to be a lot more left-wing driven, and that we should all be very concerned about that. And sort of the idea of, oh, you know, well, we're not going to be dictated by what the bond markets say, is an indication to how much he's willing to spend. I mean, I think if he's going to change directions, it sounds like he may want to call a general election, and I think that's what he might do. He might get elected, become the Prime Minister, announces his agenda, say, look, I'm going to be spending on 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to increase spending. And to get the mandate...
And that would, by the way, Mike, Labour would lose a lot of seats, but it would eradicate the, dare I say, problem people from the Labour bench. Yeah. So you would lose maybe 100 seats, but it wouldn't be 100 good uns. If you're being totally honest.
And, you know, I always have respect for politicians who do that, even if I don't agree with them politically. If you stand on a policy and you're committed and dedicated to it, then, you know...
Yeah, but he's not committed to anything, is he?
Well, if he is committed to that left-wing direction and he wants to, for example, remove the cap on the 2-child benefit, if he wants to...
Yeah, but this week he does that and the next week he doesn't.
Yeah, well, he is during the election, I agree, so like on Brexit, for instance. But it'll be interesting to see when he becomes in position of power, whether he thinks that power will enable him to actually implement a consistent agenda, or is he going to flip-flop again, depending on political pressure?
But Mike, I think what you've said is absolutely right. Look, one of the big concerns that I've got, and it's a criticism I put with Labour, Conservative, we don't know if we can criticise the Lib Dems, Reform, Restore, the Greens on this. But I said this, I want to be Prime Minister to sit on my backside and get, you know, fly around in the rubbish version of Air Force One, right? I don't... Look, whatever you think of the Asher Goulds, Mike Grahams, the Patrick Christie's, I don't know, Jacob Rees, all of these people that you see on the TV, if you were to put them into number 10, whether they'd be good or bad as a Prime Minister, would go, I want to do this. Right, I've got this burning desire to do something. Right now, I'm not saying they'd be good at the job, but they have. But you get these like, and it's just. Ugh.
Yeah, and I think that's been broken down because the realities of the political game means that you have to concede here, do this, and change. And by the time you've got up there, you have already compromised on so much, so you've lost that energy and drive, which is why very few people actually do have that drive.
Well, because they've gone because of the EU. All good people went out of politics, and also with Labour, with the Corbyn type, they just left politics.
Well,
totally.
Define good as in know how to play the system.
A bit of star quality, you know, have a bit about them.
But if you OK, so if you are Tony Blair, what is the dream? Abolish the hereditary peerage. Well, OK. Create devolved assemblies. You know, change trade union funding. OK, maybe I can go on. Gordon Brown, create an independent judicial appointments committee. Keir Starmer, let's alter abortion regulations. And nobody goes. Do you know what? Like Clem Attlee goes, I'm going to create an NHS. Gordon Brown goes, let's alter the rules on judicial appointments.
Yeah, but Blair did, didn't he? Quite secretly. I mean, he added about 20,000 laws, and basically he left the position of. He basically poured concrete down the bridge.
Well,
no, but it was to change it, and then Starmer's taken and ran with it.
His big vision was to change the constitution,
destroy it.
But the reason behind that is because the size of the state has grown so much that you can't really implement anything. Anything that you want to introduce has to be very specific, limited, measurable, something that you can actually sort of try and change. Because if you try and remove a department nowadays, I mean, that's impossible.
If I walked in, I agree with what James Cleverly said as Home Secretary. He said it to me, but it was a dinner, which you know, and I think he said it to other people. He walked in and said, let's stop the small boats, get the Royal Navy to do it. That is not legal, Home Secretary. Your job is just to apologise for it not happening. That's it, really. And you see the Prime Minister's Question Time all the time. Would the Prime Minister lobby Natural England on behalf of my constituents? Would the Prime Minister talk to the Crown Prosecution Service? Could the Prime Minister try and secure a meeting with me? And you think there's nobody says, Prime Minister, can you do this? Because he'd have to stand up and go, look, unfortunately, I'm the chief person that lobbies on your behalf. The job of the Prime Minister now is to lobby on your behalf, to say to government departments and quangos and executive agencies, I would like you to do this, but you don't have to.
Well, the sad reality, it's because MPs have become glorified councillors, where actually from now on, if you have any issues, because of this, you know, because you want the government to do things for you, if you have an issue, you tell your MP and your MP sorts it out for you, where actually Parliament should be this place of debating policy. It should be parliamentarians actually sitting down, scrutinising legislation, thinking of ideas on how to actually achieve growth, prosperity in this country, and instead they spend all of their time reading through constituency emails, fix my pothole, which is not an MP's issue.
I will tell you something, Mike. Having worked as a senior parliamentary assistant, alas, you are completely right. And also, when I was a senior parliamentary assistant, I was guilty of that.
But you've got to do it because
we didn't.
Yeah. But you don't, and your MP, your boss, wouldn't have time to even.
No, that's correct.
Actually scrutinise bills nowadays. And you know, if you want to vote on something nowadays, you just look at your look at the whip.
Oh,
and
by the way, can I show you the front page of the Sun? Oh. That's lovely. Look at that Ascot lady.
Oh,
now it's not dodgy in any way. But it's I love that.
It's a very beautiful dress.
They're gone like that. No, I'm joking. I think I prefer it.
But look, yeah, it is, and this is the thing. It's an opportunity for people to dress up, and I think people should respect.
Do you
that.
like dressing up? Do you?
Oh, I do.
Oh, we
yes,
found that Mike likes dressing. Put your Panama hat on.
Go on, then. Let's have a look.
It's a nice
Is that
one.
good? Yes.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. I've got a couple of Panama hats.
Yeah,
it
it's
looks
quite
great,
nice.
actually.
I'm going to the Bulls tennis competition next week. I'll be wearing it.
Just to say to everybody, what we're going to do at midnight is Ask Asher. That is 20 minutes of calls where you can ask Asher Gould. Now, always remember one thing. Always remember one thing. He's got no knowledge in law, no knowledge in philosophy.
So I'll have a go at it. Or medicine. And I'm much better rates than the qualified ones. So
well,
make sure
I can fill in with the law and philosophy.
You've got a bit of law,
and then you can. I studied PPE, so I can do that. But
what, PE?
PPE, philosophy, politics, economics.
No, personal protective equipment.
Yes, yeah, that during COVID. But
masks.
Yes, very good.
No, political philosophy. You can't. Yeah, that's what they all do.
Now, Asher unfortunately couldn't even pronounce it.
No, I can't even say it. I can't even say your degree. UK weight. This is sort of what we're talking about. UK wastes billions paying too much for big projects, transport schemes. We're going to take a break, but look, we'll be talking about that. And basically, you know, our nuclear new power station in Hinkley, it's cost about 10 times what it costs China to make their one. So they can build 10 for the cost of one. And look at HS2 and everything else. Anyway, we'll be talking about all that. Mike Salem's here. It's Andre and Ash on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
So this is a press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. And Mike, Asher introduced this story before the break
in the Times.
From the Times, which was the idea that everything that we ever do in terms of infrastructure in this country costs far too much. What are we going to do?
Well, we need to cut red tape and we need to cut the health and safety regulation. We need to cut everything that basically adds cost to it. one of the most famous stories that came out of HS2, for example, was the £110 million bat tunnel, which is not too far from where I live. And
like the fish disco.
Yeah, I mean, it's... come on.
£50 million to save 150 fish a year.
Indeed. I mean, we do have... Yeah, we do have...
And bats are evil. They turn into vampires.
Can we explain the £110 million bat tunnel? Because I think it's important to understand that Natural England, the organisation that is paid for by the taxpayer, forced HS2 to put that in place. And no matter how much government says that was a disgrace, the organisation that forced it and the regulatory environment that enabled them to force it still exist.
It's the Quangos, isn't it?
And that's the problem. And I think, look, we have a duty to look after our environment. I think it's a very good thing to do. We need to be conscious of how, we are affecting the environment. But we have to do it sensibly. And that was not done sensibly. It wasn't done in due consideration. And it's like many people and what they believe. It's just incredible. Some people think...
But it's very easy. It's very easy for somebody like Keir Starmer to turn around and go, this shouldn't have happened. Correct. But the reason it happened still exists today.
Indeed. So we're not actually fixing the problem.
I will tell you, we tried to build a school for the disabled in Maidenhead when I worked for the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead, and we did successfully build it. Natural England turned up, and all these people, and they found a rare breed of slow worm. Right. Nobody had ever heard of this thing before.
They're all slow.
Right. So nobody had ever heard of this thing, and so now we had to spend £50,000 on a new home for the slow worms, right? Now, ultimately, I don't know what value these are to the natural environment, but what's actually happening is this: every single development, lunatics are coming down from Natural England and finding a reason to build something weird. Yeah. Oh, look at him. That's a newt with a different type of head to the other one.
Cancel the building.
Stick it in a bag and throw it in the river next door, for God's sake. But that doesn't happen. I suggested when we discovered slow worms that they give me a bucket and spade, right? Which is the way you normally relocate a worm.
Yeah, man.
Right? But of course,
they need to know their place.
But the reality is, now, look, there's going to be every single project. I knew somebody, by the way, who was building a new house, and they said, if you discover anything subterranean, you have to phone up our local archaeologists. Now, those archaeologists are on 400 quid a day, and they can sit there dusting like Time Team on your expense for as long as possible. Do you know what he did? When he found a cavern, he stuck it full of concrete. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because he could have been in for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds. Now, if what he'd been allowed to do, open it up and have a look for free, that's fine. Whatever was down there's now been destroyed because of the stupidity of this system.
Even things like if you want to sometimes paint your windows in a grade-listed building, you have to get planning permissions and all that.
Bats in the roof, you can't do anything about
and then, building a shed or anything like that. It's the amount of regulation that we now have is insane. And I just want to highlight this number from the article because it's really unbelievable. Over 5 years, it was found that the government could have saved £42 billion if it had delivered projects at the same relative cost as comparable countries. So other countries are doing projects amounting to £42 billion less.
Yeah, because and you know why? It's corruption. People are taking, in China, if you're corrupt, they shoot you.
We're not talking about China. We're talking about countries like France, Germany, Italy, Canada, and South Korea.
So backhanders and corruption.
So let me do some basic mathematics. Isn't that about £800 for every man, woman, and child in the country? 42,000 million, 65 million people.
65 million people.
About 100 quid each.
About 800 quid.
That's nice.
So people driving down the M6 now, working late at night because they're trying to feed their families, should go away knowing that if you are a family of four, then you've ended up being done over for £3,200 on just stupidity.
And to add to that, of course, the government borrows it, which means you pay interest on top of that figure.
150 billion a year we're paying in interest.
So, I mean, this is government waste, and this is, we're being taken for fools here because, this is our money. There's no such thing as the government money. It's all our taxpayers' money, and they're not spending it right. So we need infrastructure. I accept that, and we need it really to unlock growth.
But this is
this is not how to do it.
this is what Gordon Brown changed about this country. We've spent X billions. Can you imagine if I said to you, Mike, I'm going to get you a car. I'm going to spend £1 million on a car for you. And I turned up with a second-hand Fiat Panda.
No,
right?
or a bus.
But you go, hang on a second, but that wasn't good value. But I've invested £1 million in this car. You go, but I want a nice car, not a rubbish car. And we have now become obsessed with just spending it. We've invested in this. We've spent $4 billion on that.
Record investment.
Record spending. Spend.
As if it's not our money, like you said.
Yeah,
As
well,
if
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
As if your teenage kid came home and went,
Indeed,
I've spent a record amount. I nicked your credit card and I've spent a record amount. You go, well, that's not good. Oh, don't worry, I've got your value for it. No, I think you're never leaving the house again now.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I think this is very important to highlight because it just shows, how ridiculous it all is. And we need to really hold our politicians to account with how they spend our money. And the reality is, we are the best people to spend our own money. We know how to spend it best. And the less we can give to the government, the better we are all off, to be honest.
I think the less they're involved, the better. Have we got a little break at this juncture? Well, then, let's do that. It's Mike Salem here with us. It's Andre Nash on Talk, 03444991000. Mark Dolan's coming up if you're listening in the morning, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is the paper review with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. And I just want to show you this. Front page of the Metro. OK, are we going to talk a little bit about football?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I think they're right to have Jude's photo the biggest, because I think he was the best player out there, no doubt.
Their goalkeeper was the best player out there, wasn't he? I mean,
he did really well. He did really well.
He was amazing. He should have got man of the match, I suppose.
But Jude was everywhere. He was defending, he was attacking, he was winning the ball back.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on ball.
I don't know a great deal about football, but my younger brother, who's staying with me because we went to Ascot, is the chairman of a football club. Now, obviously, you know, it's a small football club. It's only got 1,000 members.
Leeds United.
Whatever. But what he said is, you know, there is a significant danger with having this weak defence that England have got. I have to say, it seemed to me that England absolutely mauled Croatia. And yet,
when they went on the attack, the first obviously, I went to England, Italy at Wembley, you know, with Southgate, and the reason Southgate tried to hold the Italians, they were a better team than us, and we could have beaten them with our flair and doing exactly what we did in the second half yesterday, and that's what Tuchel. Apparently, people said, "Oh, did he really shout at you in half time?" And Kane said, "No, he didn't shout at us. He just said, look, I just want you to go out and play just like you're enjoying it. If you lose and you play well, then I'm happy with that." And that was the fix, and we were all over them in the second half.
Indeed.
And this is where I think you can't have a defensive manager. You've got to be, for England, you've got to have someone who knows how to attack and break teams down and use the flair of our players, because we're never going to be an organised unit like the Italians or maybe the Brazilians, but we have got the flair players, we've got the tricks, and we can get things.
Exactly. I mean, that last goal by Rashford and Saka, that play was just incredible.
So you're basically saying, just so I understand it, there are a few brilliant players and everybody else is ancillary.
Yeah, and also we don't play together as a team. I don't know why other nations do, because
they practice more together.
Yeah, but I don't know if it is. I don't know what it is, because in our Premier League, obviously, I think
the burden of the Premier League is so big.
And just
but it's not English players mainly in your Premier League.
And because you have so many good teams, so all the players are spread out.
But they play for years together, whereas but it's really working. And they basically, he said, Tuchel, play like a Premier League with that pace, and that's exactly what they did. And they seem like a team that was together. That they really were linking up really well.
Do you mind if I show you the Guardian?
We can do it better than Talk Sport. Don't worry about that.
Well,
Yeah, go on. What?
Right, so Britain should rejoin the EU, says the Guardian. Mind you, Britain should expel the Jews, says the Guardian. No, it doesn't. I don't understand why the left think the EU's so marvellous. I get they were disappointed about leaving. I get they liked it.
They hate the state, don't they? The nation state, really.
They love big government, bigger the better.
Indeed, and I think that's the sad reality. And look, I mean, we've made a decision, and some people might agree or disagree with it, but at the end of the day, that was the democratic will of the people, and we just have to march on.
It was ignored. It was ignored.
Well, indeed. I mean, I would argue we still are in the early days of Brexit, because we still haven't been able to negotiate things properly. We haven't been able to actually establish ourselves post-Brexit. So I don't think it's a good idea, to be honest. I think we should just let's see how we settle in, how we play it out. And the EU has its own issues, and I don't think we should be roped into that. And actually, many Europeans were sad that we left, because we were always the voice of no. We were always the voice of accountability. And now other countries who used to say no don't have that gravitas anymore.
They don't have someone to be with,
And actually, that made the EU stronger, because having that voice of no made that, oh, let's rethink the policy. But no, they haven't got us. Yeah.
Financial Times, Bank of England keeps rates at 3.75 after Iran peace deal lowers oil price. So they've got to keep it down, because oil prices and inflation is horrendous. So they're keeping it down. And rape convictions under review after a detective allegedly used AI chatbot. Several rape convictions are under review after a detective involved in the case was suspended for allegedly preparing evidence by giving biased prompts to an AI chatbot. So the FT revealed last week that Derbyshire Police had suspended the officer from frontline duties and launched a criminal investigation over the AI use in what is thought to be the first of its case in the kind of UK. They did use it. The Birmingham West Midlands Police used it in to report on the fake news in Amsterdam, didn't they? They used AI and got caught out for that.
Yes, indeed, in the report, didn't they? And I also read in the news today that they are going to introduce AI in the criminal court system.
AI juries.
So not quite there, but
I've sat on 5 juries, and I will tell you, First of all, I can't tell you what happened in the jury room.
Of course.
Because that is illegal.
12 angry men.
No, they were fantastic. They were fantastic, these people. Ordinary people sat and listened, not day after day. I mean, they weren't long trials that I did, a couple of days each. But, people really cared.
Indeed.
And I cannot tell you about one incident, but, there was an occasion when legal powers were used to find somebody not guilty when perhaps the evidence pointed in the other direction. It's called moral justification.
Yeah.
Well, a jury can decide whatever. Even if they think it's guilty, they can actually decide that the law is a stupid law. It won't set a precedent, but they can say in that court case, well, he might be guilty, but we think it's a stupid law. So
that's what we did.
I mean, I think on the AI, and this is the accountability factor, and I think on the AI it's very important that, okay, if people want to use AI, whatever, but it has to be someone who's being held accountable at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah, we've just got to say goodbye to our morning people. Mark Darler's next. Yes, join me for a much better show than Andre Nash's After the News. Make sure you're with me on Talk. Let's go back to Andre Nash's less inferior show. Right, thanks. We're back in the room. Yeah, carry on. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, so, I think the people who use these tools should be held to account at the end of the day, and it is very important for us to make that distinction. We still have to keep that human aspect of it.
But we believe, as a country, that mathematics is more important in human interaction than human interaction. Look, I have an AI research thing that I say, oh, can you get me stats on this, get me stats on that? It's fantastic. But it's not going to make you a better person by believing what it says.
20 seconds, Mike. Come on, quick.
Question everything, read everything, educate yourself, and don't let the government take you for fools.
Wait, another 10 seconds. You've got
Okay. No, Asher.
Too early, man.
It's Ask Asher next. 0344 499 1000. He's going to be coming up the next 20 minutes after 12 o'clock. Asher is going to be on 0344 499 1000. Get your calls in right now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, he's gone, so it's Ask Ash where I can give you all any questions, advice. I mean, I'm not qualified in anything, but I'll give it a go. DIY, cooking, medical, philosophy, legal stuff. I'd cover it all. But yeah, there's no guarantees. I've got no qualifications, but I'm much better value. So let's start with Dave in Belfast. David.
All right, Ash.
All right, man. How about you?
I tell you the crack. We're called semi-retired painters, and we're out painting this big house, right? And it's all big white walls, and it's come down with caterpillars. Right?
You've got caterpillar problem.
No, we don't. Well, they keep crawling up the walls and getting stuck to it. But then we decided who's going to buy lunch. So now I have a caterpillar race.
How many have you got? What are they type? Are they those green ones?
Aye, the green ones. We're saving the planet because we're not painting them into the wall. So now we're lifting them and putting them on the dry paint and having a race.
So you've sort of painted over the caterpillars, so a textured sort of wall.
We're trying to take them off, but then they get sticky feet.
So you just painted over the caterpillars?
No, we didn't. We're not that bad. We're saving the planet.
So what happened, man?
So what we did was we decided every day, an hour before lunchtime, we'd have a caterpillar race. Yeah. So the three of us take, and we'll have a starting line on the wall.
Yeah.
And we'll have a finish line.
And has it taken off? Have you got people betting and everything?
No, it's just us.
Have you got a prize-winning one that you keep and feed and look after really well? Because you know when you used to do cockfighting and that, you'd look after it and you
let them go, you know. But
no, you've got to nurture them. When you find a winner, you've got to breed them and nurture them. And
yeah, but the thing is, whoever's caterpillar loses has to buy lunch.
Oh, so it is a sort of gambling. And how's your? Do you mark them with anything so you know which ones are good?
No, there's only 3 of us, and we've got 3 caterpillars.
How do you entice them? Because I mean, a hare at the greyhound race, they obviously have the electronic hare.
I pick them on with
an electronic leaf. Do you have? You know,
like these things want to crawl up the walls, like they're mad.
They just go up. They just want to go up.
They just want to go and it takes about 6 minutes from the starting line to the end line.
So like the Grand National, it's a bit like, have you put any jumps in there or anything?
Well, we could do that tomorrow.
You could, yeah, you should add a bit of a water feature, you know, so a water hazard.
We could do that tomorrow.
Beaches Brook.
I'll send you a photograph if we do.
Will they become butterflies or moths or something? Will you get a load of butterflies soon or something?
I think they become probably moths. You know?
So you're happy with them? You haven't really got a problem. You're actually quite happy with it.
We're trying not to paint them into the wall.
No, but so you've turned it into an advantage by making a leisure time around it, sort of thing, haven't you? This is how you got to answer problems. Meet it with some sort of benefit. Look at this silver lining.
There's like hundreds of them, and then you go pick.
Are they edible? Have you tried one?
No, but there's loads of crows around the place, and they pick them up.
Well, no, if you bring a crow in, they'll be very happy with you. If you let them in the house, they'll be, you know, be like a banquet, won't it?
I'll let them in the house. But anyway, it's a new adventure there tonight with all this, what do you call it? Voting, right?
You what, sorry?
All the voting going on.
The voting, yeah. Well, voting has ended for 2 other by-elections, Aberdeen South and Arbroath and Broughty Ferry. Wow. The vote goes on with the main. Now, it's looking like the reports now is a very high turnout, and it's gonna be close between Labour and Reform are coming up from behind, and so we still don't know, but it's been a very high turnout, as I suppose you'd expect.
Well, the best I can tell you is an emperor runs an empire. A king runs a kingdom.
I know what you're going to say. It's the Kenny Everett one, isn't it?
The country is run by... But anyway, I'll get back to you on the...
OK. Thanks, David. There you see, there's another satisfied customer there sorting out his caterpillars who just said, look, just live with it. Well, he was living with it anyway. But let's go to Ken in London. Ken.
Good morning, Ash.
Morning. Have you got a very important, great message to tell us?
I've got a very important thought.
How did I know that? Amazing.
Now, about this young boy that was raped, abused, and murdered, a wee baby.
Baby, yeah. And the guy's got a whole life tariff, as he should do, and the other persons probably won't get out.
Well, I think actually we should restore the death penalty. Jesus tells us in the Bible, in Matthew and Mark and Luke, he tells us that anyone who abuses children should have a stone tied round their neck and they should be drowned in the sea. And in the Bible, in Romans chapter 13, God gives governments the power and authority to execute those who commit evil. So the Bible is fully supportive of the death penalty. Now, these men, this is the extreme depravity for what they did to this little boy.
Yeah.
And this is two homosexuals who are so-called married. I would also ban.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's also heterosexuals. I mean, there was that one, the pop singer who was murdered in prison, who got a whole life tariff as well. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not.
Of course it is. Yeah, but anybody. But I'm not pointing at this.
I agree, and it's 100%. See, my view on the death penalty is because obviously innocent people have been murdered. It would have to be a threshold instead of beyond reasonable doubt. It would have to be 100% guilty, a new threshold for the death phase, and like people like who cut off that decapitated the soldier's head.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that was 100% proven. Harold Shipman, we knew that he'd done that. I think these guys with the baby, that's 100%. So this would be the death penalty. Lucy Letby, she wouldn't be because it's not 100% proven. It might be beyond reasonable doubt, but it's not. So that's my view, and that's how you would never get a mistake.
Ash, this is just my opinion as a Christian. I would bring in the death penalty for paedophiles, baby murderers, police murderers, and those who kill politicians.
What about premeditated murder, just murdering a person? Why, I think that's good enough to be a death penalty.
That would cover everything, but if some people are not happy about the death penalty, but there are certain categories here which are total evil and depravity. What these men, what they did to this wee boy, it would make you cry.
Well, of course, it's the most horrendous thing. And what's going on with our authorities giving it out? Is this another DEI thing, like when they let out that Kalakane out because they said, there's too many black people in, so we've got to release him, and then he went on and murdered 3 people?
Well, when I see this happening,
it's the authorities as well.
I would be glad. I would volunteer to take part in anything, hung by the neck till they're dead. No, the person who did it, the wonderful grace of God is here. A man or a woman who's committed these evil deeds, they be given a chance to repent to God, but that doesn't mean they escape the judgment. They should be executed and removed from society.
And then they face God at the gates of heaven or hell. Thanks, Ken. Let's go to Cindy in Michigan. Thanks for that, Ken. Morning.
Hey.
Oh, it's evening where you... What is it? It's 6 in the evening or 7 in the evening where you are?
It's 7-11.
7-11? Like the shop. How ridiculous that you have a different time. You always have to do things differently. Anyway, what do you want to say, Cindy? What do you want to talk about, man?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, if you had 100% powers, right? Now, this is a difficult one, so think really clearly now.
Yeah,
how would you solve this war in Iran?
Right, well,
How would you do it?
You can't make an omelette without cracking a few eggs, can you? You've got to keep on at it. You've got to basically get the people to take over. Because they're never going to stop, I don't think, Iran, in trying to make a nuclear weapon. And obviously that's not going to fare well in the Middle East. It's not going to be peace anyway, is there? Because there's no way Israel are going to... Hezbollah aren't going to stop, and Israel are going to have to retaliate. And also with Iran, they can't allow them. I mean, this deal, I think Trump... It's so ridiculous. I think he's got a cunning plan. I can't believe it's just this foolish.
Now, remember, you have 100% powers. Would you...
Oh, right, yeah, I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah.
What would I do? Well, I just go to war with them.
Yeah.
Proper war, you know what I mean? It was none of this half-hearted stuff. Total war. I mean, that's the only way, Cindy. Sometimes, we haven't got the stomach for it though now. But the thing is, you have to have in certain instances, like if they're trying to develop a nuclear bomb, and they're basically a massive suicide bomber as a nation. I mean, for them to do that, even if it was committing suicide, that would be all right by them, wouldn't it?
They would do it, yeah.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't bat an eyelash about it.
Are you happy with my answer? Is it...
Yeah. No,
Any other advice you need, Cindy? Everything all right in the marriage and everything, and DIY, cooking, questions? Travel. Do you go on holiday ever? I know you Americans, you don't even have passports, do you?
I don't have a passport,
No,
but
you
it
don't.
wouldn't take much to get. I mean, just bring your documents. And
But you've no need, because, America is great. It's like different countries all over the place, isn't it, within America?
Mm-hmm.
But with the same...
I wanted to come visit you all, but I was scared to do it alone, and we have animals, so it's like,
I remember, yeah. You were scared, what, of the animals?
Mm-hmm. Well, no. I was scared to do it by myself. And
well, why didn't your husband...
couldn't come with me.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because we have animals. Yeah.
Oh, you've got... What animals have you got, man? I do animal stuff as well. What animals have you got?
3 dogs, 3 cats.
What? 3 dogs and 3 cats? And do they all get any questions? Are the dog's ears all right and everything? Teeth?
Yeah.
Fur?
Everybody's getting along.
Are they wagging their tails? They've got a nice wet nose? The cats?
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep, they sure do.
So,
and they eat well.
They eat well.
Exercise.
Do you get pedigree chum out there and kitty cat and Whiskers super meat? Win a lot mixer? What's your dog food?
Heard of it.
You bonio. You probably... What would you have in America for dogs? Like Jell-O and peanut butter?
Well, for snacks, yeah, we have treats that have peanut butter, all kinds of treats. Like, you're talking like a whole store of like...
A pet shop.
Treats and toys. And
it's called a pet shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got them here as well. You're not better than us in every... We've got pet shops as well over here. You come over here bragging about your pet shops.
I thought I was going to have one over you.
Yeah, exactly. You typical Americans. Anyway, rank Cindy. Let's go to Heather. The arrogance of them. Heather.
Oh, Cindy's beautiful. She's a very nice person.
She is lovely. She is lovely and beautiful, yeah.
Have you read the Rob Lowe Rape Gang inquiry?
I know, and no one's really talking about this big inquiry that Rupert Lowe put on, and there was a lot of stuff come out, horrendous stuff. And what's interesting is how the media have just totally ignored this horrendous story again, as we'd expect.
Well, I've read the inquiry. I've downloaded it on my laptop, and I've read it all the way through. And
so, what did you pick up from it?
What I saw when I got to the paragraph where Keir Starmer was the director of public prosecution, and what he gave like warnings to paedophiles and the grip gangs. A bit like, do you know the Asbro warnings kind of thing? Not, and they're being let go. And when all that's going to come out in the Houses of Parliament and next week in the House of Commons, when Rupert Lowe reads that in front of Keir Starmer, tell you what, it's going to be a bloody stink-up in the House of Commons next week, or
rightfully so.
Going to read it.
Well, hopefully it will do something. I hope it does. I mean, I'm not that confident, but
this is going to create a hornet's nest.
I think it's a great thing that he did, though, there.
Yeah, I'm glad it's all out and open.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
That's what we need.
But it's not all out. I mean, he couldn't do the full thing that the government would be able to do, and that's the disgrace about it. But it's started the ball rolling a bit more, hasn't it? It's pushed the...
Yeah, at least it's the ball is start rolling on this. And as long as we keep on talking about it, same as like what happened with Preston Davey, as well, what happened to him and the neglect of social services and the health authorities, they had eight missed opportunities with him. They could have easily saved Preston Davies' life. They could have easily got a court order.
We hear that with every single child that's killed. I remember there was a beautiful, I think she was an Asian little girl, and her dad murdered her. I mean, we hear these, and the schools say, oh, we did notice she had bruises, and the hospitals notice, and they don't do anything. Do you know what I mean? This is not how it used to be.
Columbia as well, missed opportunities.
It happens all the time, and it never. I remember when I was talking to my mum the other day, and I smashed my head when I was 5, and it was all bleeding and that. And when they took me to the accident hospital in Birmingham, actually, my mum told me this. They took them aside and were questioning them about that. They don't do that now.
Well,
they just try and cover up things.
Ask questions. Do you know
there was a girl who was 13, raped by a man.
I mean, when I were abused, when I were a kid, at least I was saved, and at least I've gone through the court. But I didn't go to court, but my statement's been read in court.
It was taken seriously, was it, with your case?
The Crown prosecution people, and that secured a conviction for him, and he got 6 years in prison.
Not enough, but thanks, Heather. We've got to take a little break. We've got to take a little breaky, and then we're going to go with Stephen in Manchester. It's Talk with Andre and Ash. We'll find Andre. We'll be back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and this is not breaking news. This is just an update from Makefield. So just to explain that we are currently on the verification process. That is to say that they are checking the total number of people they think voted correspond with the total number of votes they got in. Now, that's a little bit difficult because you need to count all the votes and you need to count all the postal votes. That process should be done, I think, within the next hour normally. Also, Rupert Lowe has turned up in the Makefield count, and he has said that Restore Britain will do better than 2%. Now, I appreciate that that is not a great, revelation, but what he said is that he will outpoll what was expected of him to poll. And also, we have a source at Talk close to Nigel Farage who is saying that Reform will lose the by-election and that the difference between the Burnham vote and the Reform vote will be less than what Restore are polling. That is to say that a source close to Nigel Farage is suggesting that Restore has cost Reform the by-election. Now, I will say, Asher and I think I speak for Asher, don't know. I think what we would say is that every political party and every political view has a right to be heard and a right to be said. Therefore, it is not the duty of Rupert Lowe to shut his mouth in order to protect Nigel Farage. But it would be interesting, Asher, surely, if Restore had, in the eyes of people, cost reform this by-election? What would the impact of that be in your view?
Well, I think they should have joined up for this to unite the right, because it was, I think it was polled at 8% for Restore and about 38% for Reform, and then 44% for Burnham. So with those votes, they would have won. It's a bit like the general election, and what they should have done is got together at this point and then said, look, we'll separate after, and then we'll have the fight rather than this. Although I don't think it's going to make much difference, because, like I say, I mean, he's not going to be able to do anything, Burnham. He's not going to be able to lower the costs. He's not going to be able to cut welfare. He's not going to be able to get rid of net zero. He's just a sort of... he's not going to be able to do anything, but, you know, maybe he will be more likeable than Starmer, because I don't think that's hard. It's hard to be less likeable than Starmer.
Yeah,
he won't like to be unpopular. Starmer doesn't care, you know, locking people up like Lucy Conn. He won't care about... He will care about that more, so we might get a nicer, more personable person.
But Asher, look, I know what you're going to say to this, so forgive me for being repetitious, but in terms of the things that you are worried about, now, I know that you and I were not fathers, but we have nieces and nephews that we're extremely concerned about. In terms of the things that you are worried about in this country, in terms of uncontrolled immigration, in terms of danger on the streets, in terms of the epidemic of knife crime...
Well,
that's
all one thing. It's all immigration.
Yeah, but do you think that Andy Burnham is going to make a difference? I don't.
No, he's not. And I don't think even it will make a difference at the general election.
I think he fundamentally agrees with the direction of travel, and we fundamentally don't.
Yeah, and he just changes. He's a bit like Starmer with a personality, really, isn't he?
And he's not got that much of a personality.
No, but compared to Starmer, he's like amazing, like Kenneth Williams.
Let me tell you something. I've known Andy Burnham since the 1990s, and I have been for nights out with parliamentarians and politicians, and let me tell you, Andy Burnham is at best, C. All right.
But that's exactly it,
the most fun is Colonel Bob Stewart, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah,
and they all go down from there.
Colonel
right?
Bob.
I'll tell you what. Lord Laird of Artigarvan. All right, young feller, let's go for a beer together. He was good fun. Look, the reality is, on a serious note, Andy Burnham, in my view, changes nothing other than the PR.
Exactly, that's what I agree.
Stephen is in Manchester and he wants to talk about the Makefield by-election. Stephen, you're on talk.
How you doing, boys? You all right?
Yeah, man.
Yep.
How you doing? All right?
I think from Blair to Brown to Clegg and Cameron, because it was a coalition, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak, and to this dupe that we've got in charge of us now. I'm gonna quote Theodore Roosevelt. They will be held in infamy in this country. I tell you.
Tony Blair already is, isn't he?
But Stephen, will Keir Starmer be held in infamy, or will he just be forgotten like Liz Truss?
He'll probably get a job in the EU doing something.
I'm sure he will.
Like stuff like that. But listen, people are waking up to this. I mean, look, Andre, listen, I've never been on a march in my life. I'm apolitical. I kind of vote and use my conscience at the time when there's a vote. And I'll tell you this now, I will never vote Labour again. I voted for this mob last time out because I'd had enough of the Tories.
Yeah, so just to be clear, Stephen, look, you don't have to answer this question, but when you say you voted Labour because you'd had enough of the Tories, were you ever enthusiastic about Labour?
I wasn't enthusiastic about him. I was enthusiastic about a difference, if you can...
Yeah, I get that.
But was your family always Labour before? You know, is it a generational thing, Labour?
No, listen, apolitical, honestly. Listen, I've never been out. Listen.
You've never been out? You're from Manchester.
Oh,
everyone goes out in Manchester.
Everyone who goes out in Manchester has had a night out with Terry Christian, though not recently. He's gone mad.
He's miserable and bitter now. If you vote for Brexit, you should die.
If you didn't vote for Remain, shag you later. He's dreadful.
It's not like he wasn't aware when he used to be fun.
He used to be fun. He used to be fun. Well, it'll do that to you, won't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not.
Sorry, Stephen. Yeah, sorry, Stephen, carry on. We just got excited with Terry Christian.
You two boys is a joy. A joy to listen to. Listen, it's coming to a year since James died, isn't it? And listen,
I know,
Andre,
yeah, it is. It is, yeah.
Andre, it's not the cloak that shrouds you, it's the cloak that and behold you because you've done a great job. Ash, you always do a great job, right?
Well, it was easy. Let me tell you, it was very, very easy because you're never going to be as good as James Wales, so you don't have to worry about it. So it's all fine in my view.
Well, listen, you've done a good job, and we're all listening to you and stuff like that, right?
We have lost a few listeners, if I'm being honest.
I'm so depressed about the way politics are in this country at the moment. I mean, it's like, listen, Andy Burnham, king of... Listen, I'll tell you what.
It's the king of Manchester.
Listen, Andre, Ash, come up. I'll take you in the square mile of Piccadilly...
Crackadilly Gardens. I see the Charlie Veitch video. He's been banned, apparently. He's been banned from the centre for some reason because they want to cover up all the crackheads in Manchester City Centre, probably for this vote.
Here we go, Ash. It's not all like... look, I think it's one Portland Place. I might be wrong, which is where all the migrant stuff's done. But listen, Piccadilly Gardens, when I was a kid... Look, Lowry painted Piccadilly Gardens, man. Do you know what I mean?
He did very well, didn't he?
Painted matchstick man and matchstick cats and dogs.
Ash, you take your life into your hands.
I know. I know Manchester, that square. It used to be where all the buses went. It wasn't as nice, was it? It wasn't as green.
I'll tell you something extraordinary, where Asher Gould has left an area and antisocial behaviour has increased. I mean,
you see, if I'd have been the king in Manchester, this wouldn't have happened.
Normally, just by osmosis, it would have decreased. Yeah. No, Stephen, thanks so much. Look,
no, hang on a sec. You're talking about Andy Burnham like being the king enough.
I didn't.
All he did was he pushed all the tramps and stuff like that, and the people that sleep on the streets out to Castlefield and all that, so they're on the periphery.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Right?
Oh, so he has got some idea.
He ain't the king of New York, as Kristen Wook.
Yeah, they did that here in King's Cross. They moved them all out to Camden and Euston.
Listen, boys, lovely talking.
Right, OK, let's go to a break. 0344 499 1000. I just want to ask you this question. What about this amazing thing that Labour have changed the rules on elections for regional mayors? They did it this week, which means it's no longer first past the post. It's now a system of alternative votes. Amazing, isn't it? It's not got royal assent yet, but it was passed by the House of Lords. Labour say we're merely changing it back to what the system used to be previously. I think if Andy Burnham wins this morning, there will be a by-election in Greater Manchester on the 30th of July, and this system may well apply then. Unbelievable. Back in a moment. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Brothers and sisters, I'm so sorry. I've been in trouble from Adam Bradley, who's our producer, for not fully explaining the political and electoral changes that the Labour government have approved this week. Let's just explain what they are. Now, don't worry. Don't hide under your sofa. It's called a move from first past the post to supplementary alternative voting. It sounds complicated.
What you talking about, Willis?
It's incredibly, incredibly simple. All that happens is, at the moment, you vote for one person by putting an X. So you would walk into a ballot paper with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Adam Bradley, and you would vote for Asher Gould. Right, as by putting an X down. What will happen under the new system is this. If Asher Gould does not get 50% of the vote, if half of the people don't vote for him, then there are only two final candidates. So what you do is you vote one for your favourite candidate and two for your second favourite candidate. And then if your favourite candidate, if one person does not get over half the vote, then all the other candidates' votes transfer. So what that means is this. Think as an example. Imagine, let's go, Labour and Reform. Right, so Reform get 43%. Labour get 40%. And then, of course, neither of them have got 50%. So all of the votes from the Greens, all the votes from the Liberal Democrats all get transferred to somebody. Now, do you think that that's going to be the Reform candidate? I believe it's not. I believe that what will happen in the Greater Manchester mayoral election is the person with the most votes will lose. There you go.
I was thinking today of a system, right? I was just thinking about the electoral system. I was thinking in this vote, it would be good if you could have a coalition of voters. So now that, you know, say that Labour win and Reform have got, 38% and Rupert Lowe's got 7% and he beats, together they beat Rupert, they could have a coalition at the end of the vote and Rupert could give it to...
Yeah, that is precisely the supplementary alternative voting system. That is to say that if neither Andy Burnham nor Robert Kenyon got 50% of the vote, then they would eliminate Rebecca Shepherd and she would be able to vote for, her votes would be transferred to whoever voted number 2 on her ballot paper, and that would be true of Michael Winstanley, the Conservative candidate, and so on and so forth. Now, it's fair to say that Asher was fairly positive about this system. I'm fairly negative about it. I believe that the person with the most votes should win an election. But unfortunately, that's not perhaps what's going to happen at the next mayoral elections.
And also, look at what they've done with 16-year-olds. They can't go on social media yet. They can vote the very next day. And also, this is just digital ID through the back door. They don't care about kids. We know they don't care about kids. They use that as a Trojan horse. I mean, look, there's girls getting raped up and down the country still to this day, and they're trying to cover it up. So that shows you how much they care about kids. This is just to get us to digital ID through the back door, because you'll have to have it to go on your phone. And they're also bringing the thing on your operating system before any apps, and they can search all your phones now. We're living in a police state.
Yeah, so just to be clear what Ash is talking about, because I appreciate it's quite difficult to understand. So first of all,
listen.
We're doing it for the kids. Right, let me explain the social media ban, and let me explain the pornography on your phone ban, because both of them are horrendous. First one is, in order to use social media after the ban comes in, you will have to prove you are over the age of 16. That means that every single person will have to give ID to the government and indeed their outsourcers to prove they're over the age of 16. Now, one of the big problems that you have with all of this is that there are companies across the world, particularly in Israel, and I'm not having a go at the Israelis, but who do all of these age verification software. So you are domiciling your ID from Britain to Israel or America or whatever. I personally think all of your digital ID and everything should remain in the United Kingdom, but that will change under this system. If you do not prove to the government who you are, you will not be allowed to use social media. And now for the pornography ban. So your phone will not be allowed to use any adult apps of any description. When I say that, that is over the age of 16 apps, but also any naked content or anything like that. You will not be able to do that unless you confirm your phone with the government as well by using ID. Now, what will then happen, as Asher says, is the government will then be able to scan your phone for all content to make sure none of it is illegal, immoral or against their rules. I mean, look, it is what it is. This will become a policeman in everyone's pocket.
But the thing is, they widen the rules. I mean, the Terrorism Act, you know, it's meant to be used on terrorism. Council started using it to see if parents lived in the catchment area or if they were putting their bins out, using these terrorist laws that we brought in, obviously, for terrorism. And this is what will happen with this. It will gradually widen, and they'll just be searching phones. When they want to get someone like Tommy Robinson, they'll go, oh, look, we found this. Look, search his phone.
And I think the case of Tommy Robinson is particularly important, simply because Tommy Robinson comes to the UK in order to speak at the Oxford Union, and the Thames Valley Police don't like that. So they arrest him at the airport and take his phone under the Terrorism Act. Now, if you hate Tommy Robinson, that's fine. If you think he's a knob, if you think he's a problem, he's not a terrorist, is he? And it's amazing. It's amazing. What he should have said is he was having a mental health breakdown, because that's normally what the Thames Valley Police line up any terrorist for. What is happening here is very, very simple. The government, the police, the Home Office, MI5 believe watching your computer system in your phone is vital. Can I tell you, I will tell you, my system at home got hacked a month ago. And do you know what we've been doing ever since? We've just been sending all sorts of emails, talking a load of old rubbish, just to offend the Thames Valley Police and indeed MI5. We've written all sorts of stuff, Asher. I'll tell you, we've talked about. Look, the reality is, come round my house and take my computer if you want. You absolute nightmares. But I'll tell you what's going to happen. When the Thames Valley Police come round to pick up my computer, because they hacked it a month ago, right? What I'm going to say is, I'll tell you what, you're going to have to deal with rape gangs, because I'm going to get my phone out and have a go at you. The reality is, the solution to the problems in this country now are not to solve them, it's simply to beat up the people who admit them. Matthew Barber, you're a shameful man. You should resign. The Thames Valley Police are scumbags. But don't worry, they're not going to win. OK, let's go to...
And you don't have the right to remain silent under these terrorism acts.
I know, no. Do you know what we should do? Let's invite Matthew Barber from the Thames Valley Police to justify why they hacked my computer system a month ago. Do you know what? Of course they did. You know, they're not very happy about some of my criticisms of them. Matt, it's going to get worse, pal. And if there's another election for Police and Crime Commissioner, I'm going to go there and beat your ass. OK, let's go to Mark in Lancaster. Mark, you're on talk. Oh, I hate the Thames Valley Police.
You're right.
I hate the Thames Valley Police. Mark in Lincolnshire, sorry.
Hello.
All right, Mark. What's up, man? Wait, why are you ringing us? It's 20 to 1 in the morning. We could have been asleep. Shouldn't ring after 9.
I don't go to bed till about 3, 4 in the morning.
No, not with the World Cup going on, yeah.
Well, you know.
So what's up, Mark? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, just obviously this by-election and what have you. I think from my position as a Restore Britain member, I think any problems that Nigel Farage and Reform have in either winning this seat or any other seat going forward or elections or whatever it is all on Reform, because they ain't doing enough to get the votes.
OK, but Mark, can I stop you there for a second and just ask you this question? So first of all, as you know, Asher and I agree anyone who wants to run for election should run for election. It is their right to do it. However, look, Reform have done something very specific, which I know Restore members hate. And it is to say, look, we have our right-wing views, patriotic views, but we're also going to tack to the centre because we don't believe we can win an election unless we persuade, sort of middle-class mums in Hampshire. You hate that. But are they completely wrong in wanting to do that? Do we always have to be purists?
Yes, yes and no. I think that I can see Reform's angle. They're essentially basically carbon copying what the Tories have done for decades, obviously, for centuries, because that's what's always worked. I think that the problem that somebody like Nigel Farage doesn't seem to understand is that the political paradigm that we live in has completely altered, OK? In so much as, I mean, Restore Britain are actually quite good at doing this at the moment. We need to see how it plays out over the next 2-3 years. But a lot of the votes that Restore Britain do get seem to come from people who otherwise are politically unengaged. So they're not really engaging in politics anyway. So my point with this is, which is kind of Restore Britain's angle, always has been, Rupert Lowe's spoken about this himself, there's a whole 40% of people that never vote. Now, the point of being more purist about this
and where Reform are going drastically wrong, in my opinion, is that 40%, a lot of those people are just ordinary people, obviously, but they're the same as us, and they see all the problems that are going on. They just don't believe that the establishment, the political establishment...
Yeah, that is correct, and that is correct, Mark, but the thought is, which might be wrong, the thought is that unless you persuade the politically engaged people as well, all you're going to do is do what UKIP did, which was had a brilliant political party, loads of people agreed with them, never got anywhere politically.
Yeah, but again, I mean, even when UKIP, things have changed so much even from when UKIP were running around.
I agree with that.
You know, the problem is, and I've said this many times in the past, over the last year or so, and what I see is we have several things, because obviously there's been a lot of hit pieces in the press on Restore Britain last week. Now, my opinion
Can I just say there's a piece of breaking news. The turnout in Makerfield is 58.75%. That's been confirmed by the returning officer. That is pretty high. That's kind of general election territory in recent years. I think a normal by-election we would have expected perhaps 40%. Sorry, Mark. That you can comment on that or not, but I just thought I'd put that out.
Yeah, well, I kind of expected that to be the case, to be honest.
I mean, 4 out of 10 people didn't vote. Where were they?
That is terrible, isn't it? It should be 90% or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, voting should be a legal requirement.
It should be compulsory, shouldn't it?
No.
Yeah, it should be like that.
Why not?
But
I think it's a good thing.
Well, because why should I be dragged down to vote for this person I can't stand? I should.
You can spoil your paper.
No, these people should persuade you to want to go.
Yeah, but you can spoil your paper or say none of the above.
Well, I do.
Well, go back to my point, guys.
Sorry.
What I see going forward, guys.
Yeah.
Right, is because you had these hit pieces, you know, white supremacist, racist, fascist. This stuff doesn't really work anymore, and all it really does is show Reform for what they are, which is just another part of the establishment, because they're the same kind of dirty tricks. Because the vast majority, if not all of the stuff that was in these articles, is unbacked up. There's no evidence to this.
But what if, Mark? What if Reform is part of the establishment? What if Reform have turned round to themselves and said, OK, we really, really, really want to bring back Britain to what it used to be, to reverse the constitutional vandalism of Tony Blair, to stop worrying about the European Union. But you know what? We're not renegades. We're not outsiders. We are the establishment. We are normal people. We're not trying to... And the criticism actually that's made of Restore Britain is this, that some people are so disenchanted with the system, they want to completely smash it. Look, I, as you know, I have sympathy with the Conservatives, UKIP, Reform, Restore. You know, I mean, there are a large number of these parties, but I can see both sides of the argument, you know.
I think, I see what you're saying, Andre. And, you know, I agree with a lot of what you are saying, to be honest. But the problem is things are getting so bad so quickly now. You know, just look at the last few weeks, Andre. The beheading attempt, all this other stuff that's going on. It's becoming almost bloody daily, this stuff.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Now, the problem is, people can say what they like about a party like Restore. Restore always set themselves out as an anti-establishment party.
Yes.
Because the problem with maintaining the current establishment is that you are going to basically just repeat the exact same mistakes. Reform is a giveaway in the name anyway. Reforming what exists.
Reform might say, yeah, but we didn't make mistakes for 1,000 years. We've made mistakes for the past 25.
Yeah, and he wants to reform back to 97, basically. That's what reform is.
I mean, when you say the establishment are all terrible, I mean, we didn't do that badly until we completely disregarded our constitution.
Well, the point is, I'll mention one fact here, which actually surprised me, even given, you know, recent high levels of mass migration, bear in mind. But since 1950, they've imported 22.5 million people into this country. That is a hell of a lot of people. Now, one of those articles, I think it was the Daily Mail, what they were calling was this re-migration summit that one of the lads had attended.
Yes.
Which is perfectly illegal. It was attempted by Trump administration people, right-wing politicians
former head of the DEA. Sorry, the what's it called? ICE. Former head of ICE.
Yeah. All these people were there. You know, there was nothing illegal in that whatsoever. But they basically called re-migration, in this article, they refer to re-migration as ethnic cleansing.
I mean, it seems to me...
It isn't.
It seems to me that if somebody can say there is an automatic value with having people from Africa moving to Britain, then it is only fair that somebody can say there is an automatic disbenefit.
Well, yeah.
From, I mean,
immigration caused ethnic cleansing here. Like we said earlier, like you've said, the Cockneys were ethnically cleansed from East London. You know, Birmingham has been ethnically cleansed. You know what I mean? These towns.
I think it's this extraordinary claim that it is the right of somebody from Mogadishu to move to Richmond. And Britain is a better place to resort, is it? I mean, you know...
Are we better off with a Hamas former leader living in Harrow?
We must.
Don't think so.
We must get... And did you see that Islamic State bloke from Sudan with the big ginger beard?
Yeah, what's he got to offer us?
All the gear and no idea. All the gear and no idea.
Bad ideas.
All right. Mark, we're going to have to go to a break.
Let's do that.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Let's go straight to Matt in Manchester. Matt, you're on Talk.
Hi, Andre and Ash. How are you doing?
All right, man. What's up?
Yes. I just wanted to just discuss kind of the immigration points a little bit further. Just for context, I classify myself as left wing, but I've got friends that are right wing. You know, I've got a very open mind, and I like to listen to people with different viewpoints and stuff. So basically, like my mum's from Zambia, so I'm half African, half English, but I was born in the UK. My mum came to the UK from Zambia when she was 18 as a student.
Yep.
She built her life here. Ever since she's moved, contributed to the economy. You know, obviously raised me, and you know, I work full time. I did well.
But this is the sort of immigration that we do want in this country. This is not an example of, you know what I mean? This is what we do want.
But actually, here's a point, Matt. How do we express support for people who want to come to the country to be British and do this?
Yeah.
And also lament people coming to the country don't? Because look, at the end of the day, nobody's going to say to you, "Oh my God, get back to your own country," which of course is not where you're from anyway.
Yeah, I'd say certain very far right people probably would say that. I'm not saying that's the general consensus of right wing people. Anything you would say, but there is a small portion of people.
There are.
There are. I get your point though. To be honest, and look, I'm left wing, and I do think there is an issue with illegal.
Well, it's legal migration as well. People in university.
Can I ask you this question? Can I ask you this question? Look. I think this boils down, at least to an extent, to culture. Nobody's bothered about skin colour. I mean, there might be
eye colour. It's like
might be a few idiots who are bothered about that. It doesn't really matter. And when people say, "Oh, there are a lot of black people on my street," they're not fundamentally bothered about black people. They're bothered about the fact the area is changing in a way they're quite surprised by, and that is a way of. I mean, if everybody suddenly wore, I don't know, denim jackets, they'd notice that and think it was strange. My point is, I see people who find it easy to fit in with Britain, and I see people who find it hard to fit in with Britain, and I believe that we don't differentiate. We don't say if you're from Texas, you're going to be more knowledgeable about Britain than Afghanistan.
Yeah, do you know what? I agree with most of what you just said there, and I think that's the issue. I think it's about not painting everyone that does come into this country under the same brush. And I get the point. There are people that come here and they don't integrate, and probably don't contribute to society. But I think it's so important, and I don't think it's something that people speak about enough.
But what do you think about
the people that do come? They're not all put in the same category, because there are people.
Well, of course, it's totally different, isn't it?
But what happens, Matt, if we completely blow this apart? Did you say your mum came as a nurse?
No, she didn't come as a nurse. She came to the UK when she was 18.
As a student? Yeah.
As a student when she was 18, finished university, managed to get a job, managed to get a visa. Eventually, I think when I was a child, actually, become a UK citizen, speaks perfect English.
Do you know what, Matt? We're going to have to cut you off. Matt, we're going to have to cut you off. We're going to have to cut you off. Brilliant caller. We want to talk to you tomorrow, but we've just got into trouble because we've got David coming. There's loads of callers. I'm really, really sorry. Matt, call back tomorrow. David is from
Manchester as well. Do you know Matt? You probably see him down the marketplace. What's up, David?
You're right, mate.
All right, tenner, pint of lager.
Yeah. I actually think now, whoever gets in power next, I think it's shoes, because if it doesn't work, whether it's reform or restore, if they get in at some point, whoever it is, whoever gets in next, I think it's shoes, because if it doesn't work, where do we go next?
Well, that's the worry, isn't it? You've got to keep a lid on this.
I think most people who reform and restore would say, look, if Labour get in, they will flood the country to such an extent that United Kingdom will continue as a country, but it won't be British in any meaningful sense. That's what they're saying.
And what do you think will happen, Dave?
Well, I don't know. See, I'm in Manchester now. If you come up, but what annoys me with the political lockdown in London, what they don't see is your Keir Starmers of the world. This Keir Starmer, I can't be doing with this guy. I think he's the worst prime minister we've ever had. He's the worst prime minister we've ever had. But he never
worse. He's the worst prime minister since Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, well,
even worse.
Starmer, he never comes up to places like Oldham and Rochdale. You come to Oldham or Rochdale, and it's quite scary how much these little towns like that have changed.
Yeah.
In terms of what they have. Honestly, they're flooded.
Yeah, of course so.
But it's nothing to do. But all you get labelled that now, because I'm a white British.
Oh, you're a racist. Racist. Racist.
I'm a racist.
And actually causes more racism in the end.
It's ironic. You have to bring all these people into your community, pay their benefits, and then you get called a racist for being a bit annoyed because they
and having to leave
flatulate in your face. Right, OK. David has gone.
Call us tomorrow, Dave, because we've run out of time.
Susie is in Hertfordshire. Susie, you're on tour.
Hi, guys.
All right, Susie.
Hi.
What's up, then?
Well, I wanted to talk to you about the whole flag situation.
Yeah, man. Have you got your flags up?
I don't personally. The only flag that I'm an Israeli, so the only flag that I would want up is the Israeli flag.
But you sound British. You might. What? You were born there, but you sound British.
Yeah.
So what? I mean, you're British as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got dual citizenship. I'm living here.
So why wouldn't you fly a British flag as well?
Because I feel more Israeli.
Well, go to Israel.
But, I mean, you're culturally British. You sound culturally British.
Who cares? Go to Israel. You love Israel, go to Israel. No, if you love Israel, go to Israel. By the way, it's illegal under planning regulations to fly any flag that's not a British flag from your house. And do you know what I would do, Susie, if I came down to your house? I'd report you to the council and say, bugger off.
I wouldn't, Susie. I'll come and have a cup of tea with you.
Because there's nothing wrong with thinking Israel is marvellous. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be Israeli.
Yeah, why wouldn't you fly a British flag, though? I mean, why aren't you proud? Aren't you proud of this country?
The way that they're treating Jews at the moment.
Well, now, but I mean, the way in the past, you know. I mean,
in the past, completely. In the past,
yeah,
I was a monarchist. In the past.
Yeah, but the thing is, the people you're talking about now are the people who are against the British flag.
No.
The British flag represents the people.
I find this very easy. If you don't want to be in Britain, leave. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me whether you're a Jew or an Asian or a black. If you think it's crap, go.